Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we are broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider adding us and hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. Awesome. We're back again. It is Sunday Fun Day, right? Sunday Fun Day, getting ready for Monday in the week that we have ahead of us here. So want to go ahead and try to ease you into the week and make this as effortless as possible for you tonight. Tonight we do have our special guest, Darrell Denton, and he's into Bigfoot research, also Dogman research. So we're going to be getting into some of that. Try to figure out what's the mystery behind this and how can we put the pieces together to hopefully get to a point to where we can maybe, stamp these things as bona fide with the masses out there, right? Because I think that's really the big thing, is getting out to the masses. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look and see who came in. What are the medal placements tonight? Courtesy of Race Fan, I do appreciate you. We have Race Fan with the gold. We have Jennifer Patterson with the silver. And my guy Mothman coming in with that bronze. So we do appreciate you guys showing up bright and early for Space Out Radio After Hours. Hope to be another awesome show with you guys here. I know that it will be. Let's go ahead and get some good questions in here tonight as well. And let's see who else is out there in the chat verse. I guess that's a thing. We can make that a thing. The chat verse. We got, as we said earlier, we had Race Fans saying good evening, Rob. And as always, pretty much always the first wrench in. Thanks for coming in, Race Fan. We appreciate you showing up tonight. We have DB Nobody saying coming in early. Yeah, this is definitely early for you, DB Nobody. And we do appreciate you coming on in and joining us tonight. We're going to get it in. It's going to be an epic show, as always, with your participation. We have Eternity Eternal saying, hi, Rob G. Hi, Eternity Eternal. Right back at you. Glad to see you here to join this conversation tonight. This is going to be great. Brown Dwarf saying good evening right back to you, Brown Dwarf. We have Slow Motion, who has stepped in the building, saying, evening all. Thank you, Slow Motion, for coming on in. We appreciate you. We got Abbott Hoffman saying, wrench, second. Hey, okay, definitely. That counts as something, right? Abbott Hoffman, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. We got Corey stepping on there saying, you the man, Rob G. Thank you very much, Corey. Do appreciate it, man. Just try to do what I do, man. And hopefully it's appreciated and enjoyed. So thanks for letting me know. You're awesome for that. And thanks for coming on in for sure. Let's see. We got Stargazer. We're going to try to read the emojis with the Spock emoji, the cool glasses emoji, alien head emoji, and ET spaceship emoji. Thank you for coming on in, Stargazer. I'll have to decipher that later. I'm sure it means something awesome. We got Nicola Perry Jr. Oh, it's been a minute, Nicola Perry. Thanks for coming on in. Greetings and salutations, fellow space travelers and Mr. Rob G. Godzilla won an Oscar. My life is complete. Wow. Okay, Godzilla won an Oscar. Yeah, okay. Hey, all right. Let's see. Yeah, it was funny actually because I was just on when I was coming back from my cruise. Obviously, that's down in L.A. I went up through, took my parents. They had never ever in their life been to Hollywood Boulevard. So we took them to a lot of different spots in L.A. Last stop was Hollywood Boulevard, so they could see the Walk of Fame. And we ran right into the Oscars. They were set up. They had the streets blocked off at the Chinese theater up there, right by Jimmy Kimmel's spot. So we were just there. So that's funny. I didn't get to watch the Oscars, though. Thanks for coming on in, Nicola Perry Jr. We have CS saying good evening. Good evening, CS. Thank you for showing up tonight. We appreciate you. Abbott Hoffman saying Moon Poon. Okay. Don't know what that is, but I'll figure it out. Abbott Hoffman, thank you so much for coming on in. We do have Brandon Coast stepping in the building saying, small world, eh? Brown Dwarf? Okay, there we go. Little Cam 5-1 stepping in. Okay, I can't decipher this. You got to let us know what's going on, Little Cam 5-1. What is this? SHGBO2 plus 14. Okay, I don't know. Let us know. Appreciate you. We got Jay Cortez coming on in saying, I love the intro. Appreciate you. Intro may be changing soon. Not sure. But it's going to be, if it does, it'll be just as awesome, if not more awesome than what it is currently. So thank you for your love and support there, and thanks for coming in. We got Pamela Stefanik. Hopefully one of those is right. Saying great intro. Thank you for coming on in, Pamela. Appreciate you coming on in tonight. All right. We got, who else are we looking at here? Facebook user, for sure, has stepped in the building saying, good evening, Rob. Good evening, all the way out to Facebook land. Facebook user, we do appreciate you coming in. We have Cosmic Joe Chronicles saying hello, and Mr. Rob G. Alien Head, which reminds me, get the Rob G. Alien Head t-shirts over there at spacedoutradio.com/shop. Cosmic Joe is trying to tell you something here. Alien Head emoji with the spaceship emoji. Thanks for coming on in. We have Donnie C. saying, hey y'all, what's good? Okay, that's what's up, Donnie C. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. Let's see. Oh yeah, W Decker has stepped in the building saying, hey everybody, shout out W Decker. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up tonight. Let's see. All right, let me take a look here. Paranormal Pixie has dropped me a line. What's going on here? What are we doing? Let me find the message again. Yikes. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. Mic is a bit loud, Rob. The sound is good. Yeah, this is, I tried before the show to make sure that the volume was adjusted. So let me do this. We're going to do a 1-2 check here. I want to make sure, because I have noticed that on the playback and I don't like that. So let me bring that down. Hopefully, guys, that's better. On the meter, it looks pretty good. Okay, guys, let me know. Hopefully, that's good, and we'll go from there. Okay, so thank you very much, Paranormal Pixie Laura, and thanks for coming on in. Let's see. We have Nalacious saying hello with the moon emoji. Thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you. And let's see. Kreia Vine with the hand wavy emoji. Thanks for coming on in tonight. We appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. Gory Tiger saying what's up with the, I don't know, emoji. The skeleton head emoji and the alien head emoji. All right. Thanks for coming on in. And Van Gold has shown up tonight. Good evening, Rob G and SOR family. We are family. We are. We're all humans. This is humanity family that we have here, and we're all pushing for the same thing. This thing is for all of us. Every single one of you out there. This thing that we're experiencing and trying to sift our way and work our way through. It's for all of us, and it's going to be epic once we do get to the point to where we have that full picture and we fully understand what's going on. Hopefully, I'm here to see it. Let's see. Who else do we have out here? We got to see John Lamb out there. Yeah. John Lamb is definitely here saying howdy, howdy. Thank you, John Lamb, for coming on in tonight. Mr. Mayhem 69, thanks for coming on in, Mr. Mayhem. We do appreciate you. We have, let's see, Phyllis Mouchette Perry. Phyllis Mouchette Perry saying hello, everyone. Thank you for coming on in, Phyllis. We do appreciate you. Let's see, JSCO77. Yes, thank you so much for coming on in, JSCO77. And let's see, further down the list here. Yep. I see you. Dino Bravo fan saying hello, Rob. Thank you for coming on in, Dino Bravo fan. Thank you. Let's see, who else do we have? Laura Lobbs, hello with the hand wavy emoji. Lars Jensen, who says morning all, and obviously Lars is somewhere in the world where it is now morning. So thank you for coming on in, Lars. We do appreciate you. Richard Hauser, good evening. Thank you for coming on in. Let's see. Yeah. We got Swamp Dweller. Swamp Dweller has stepped up in the building. Thank you for coming on in, Swamp Dweller. Yes, looks like we are all caught up here, and we are ready to get this show underway here. It's a Sunday. We're going to have fun today. We're going to definitely do our thing. We're going to get through this. We're going to prepare for Dave Scott in the upcoming week, and then we're going to do it all over again, because for those who are new, first let me say the Ferret is saying hi, Rob, hi, gang. Thank you for coming on in, Ferret. And yeah, so anyone new here, we do this 7 days a week. So if you're just catching us tonight for the first time, you are catching the After Hour show, which we run Saturdays and Sundays, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific, ends at 11 p.m. Pacific. On Sundays, you catch the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. I hope, definitely, I know some of you just come from over there sharing time with her. And then she runs from 7 to 8 Pacific on Sundays. And then we just kick it off right over here right after she's done. So always an awesome thing. Then you get Dave Scott coming in Monday through Friday. Conductor of the Woo Train, 9 p.m. Pacific until 12 midnight. So 7 days a week. It goes down right here at Spaced Out Radio. Something going on every single day. So anytime you look up and you want to get something, get some of this good knowledge into your repertoire, then go ahead and click on over to Spaced Out Radio. Appreciate you. Yeah. So what else was I going to say? We have the Reno trip coming up, obviously, May 10th through 12th, 2024 this year, less than 2 months away. Hopefully we can see you there. and if you're not there, as long as you're there in spirit and there in the live show, it should still be a great time. And I think something that we can all walk away from and feel kind of proud about. However, the people that are able to make it would love to meet every single one of you. Like I said, like Dave says, I mean, we do this for you for sure. This is a fan party, not a uh, a host party or a it's not. There's a word I'm looking for. I can't think of. A talent party. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. But we're doing it for you. The way it goes down is Friday. Jessica Jones, myself, and Dave Scott will all do an hour each, back to back to back, live show. Right after the live show kicks off the VIP after party. Who knows what's going to happen during that party? Saturday, we go ghost hunting with Merle in Virginia City. And then Saturday night, we get with Melinda Leslie as we do the UFO Skywatch. I recommend that one of our previous guests said you can get the 3D glasses and take the red and the yellow, the red and the blue film, stack them up and get some sort. I can't vouch for that, but he says it works for you to see. So you may be able to use something simple as that. Or if you can, if you're coming and you have the ability to, bring a psionics camera. I'm telling you, you will probably be so glad that you did. So if you can do it, I know Kira plans on bringing one. She stated so. Hopefully, I'll get to use hers because I don't own one myself. But like I said before, probably 80% of the people who I have talked to who own those have said that they consistently get anomalous things in the camera. So should be awesome. Plus we'll have some of our CE5 specialists there. So who knows what happens then. Then Sunday, if you're still around, it'll be a free for all. We're just going to do whatever you guys want to do. And like I said, we have to, and we're going to keep it top secret. I know we've been saying it loud lately, but we're going to set up a situation where we all get together and we have dinner. We invite Dave Scott down for dinner, right? And we all order breakfast. The look on his face is going to be priceless, and it'll be one of those moments you won't forget. So hopefully we can see you there. Should be awesome. All right, so what we're going to do tonight, we're going to get in with our guest Darrell Denton and talk some Dogman and Bigfoot. You know, it's one of those things that I've often wondered about, never had experience. Talk to many people who have, and let's see what we can uncover and kind of, what we can add to the narrative here tonight. So let me go ahead without further delay and bring in our guest for the night, Mr. Darrell Denton. Hello, Darrell. How are you this evening?
Hey, Rob, how are you? Great introduction there. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no problem at all, Darrell. Um, you know, I and I've said this many times. I kind of just got into this thing as far as understanding that UFOs are here on a consistent basis, along with a lot of other people back in 2017. Since then, though, I've dug in, researched. I've had my own sightings along the way and experiences which have opened me up to all of the other aspects of this phenomenon and how potentially these things could be connected. So it is interesting whenever I can have a conversation like this. So what I would like to do, if you wouldn't mind, is go ahead and start out with you. You know, we always have to start at where. How did you get into this? You know, did you have any experiences as a young man, and kind of what led you into doing exactly what you're doing today?
Well, I kind of grew up in the country, in rural Tennessee, and my grandfather had a big farm there, and I stayed with him and my grandmother most of the time when my parents worked in Nashville. This is in Cannon County, Tennessee, and I'd heard things there, but I'd never seen anything, and my grandfather and them had never mentioned it. But it all really started for me. I'd hunted on this farm for years, and but never went quite as deep in as I had on that particular my first sighting, and that was November the 6th of 1992. That's what really got me into all of it. I never didn't can't say I didn't believe in Bigfoot or Sasquatch or any of that. I just didn't think much of it. But basically, me and three of my friends went there every year for opening day of black powder season. And
Okay.
we would I had a camper I pulled behind my truck, and we'd park it next to the barn, and they would follow me in a truck with a trailer, and we carried four-wheelers or ATVs up there. And we all had hunting spots. We'd hunted there I'd hunted there all my life, and these good friends of mine, Scott, Jason, and Cody, I've been hunting with them up there the whole opening week for about 5 or 6 years at that time. And we all went in different directions. Now, we had a lot of ground to cover. I mean, my grandfather had a very large farm. When I say rural, it's rural. It's way out. And you're about roughly 22 miles to the closest town. And it's a small country town, too. So, we had all set out hunting that morning, and long story short, I'd asked my grandfather. We always got there the day before the season opened. And I asked my grandfather what would be the best place to go to get a trophy deer. And if you don't deer hunt, a trophy deer is one with a big rack or antlers, whatever you like to call it, a male deer. And we got deer there every year. All of us got a deer. Black powder season is usually the best time of the year to get your best chance at a bigger one. And my grandfather said, well, if I were you, I would go back. I was standing on his back porch, and he said, I would go to that third hollow over there if you can see where I'm talking. And I said, yeah, I know where you're talking, Granddad. It's a long walk. It's probably 45 minutes to an hour. And these hills are very steep. I mean, like 45 degrees, some of them. And pretty good climbing. Anyway, I won't get into all the details, but that next morning, my grandfather woke me up, and I headed to that area. I'd already placed my stand over there the day before, and I'd found an area right next to a creek where my grandfather told me to go. There was an old grist mill there years before that. And I'd hung I had my tree stand on the tree on the hillside overlooking the creek. And when you're on a 45-degree angle, your tree is kind of up overlooking that area. And because the tree's straight up on the side of that steep of a hill. And I'd hung what's called a drag rag over there, where you put it on your boot and you walk in, it covers your scent, and you hang it in a tree, and it kind of infiltrates that hollow area and kills the human smell, plus it also attracts buck deer. They come to that smell that's on it. It's called deer and estrus, and you put it on that cloth. And I've been in that tree stand. I got over there that morning and got up in the tree stand. It was still dark when I got there. Skipping a lot of the details. And I'm waiting for deer, and some 3 doe come out, which is a female deer. There's a big, huge, large cane thicket to the left of me on the creek bank. And I watched 3 deer come out, and I watched them, and I heard noises coming into the woods like somebody walking, and I couldn't understand why anybody would be in there. My friends were a long way off. They were probably a mile from me or further. And those deer came out, and they were just looking around and eating acorns off the ground like deer do. On the other side of the creek, they had walked through the creek. And after I watched them a few minutes, the front deer, the female bigger deer, a doe, stuck her head up like she was smelling something, and they were looking over toward that cane thicket to my left, and I really couldn't see that area very well, but that's where I was sitting. It was around a bend. And there were 2 younger deer with her, and they were all fixed on that area also. And then she made a real loud blowing sound like a deer does. It sounds like somebody almost blowing their nose, but it's a lot louder. And then she took her front paw and pawed a couple of times, her right front paw, and kept staring at that area. And then they turned and just took off running as fast as they could to the right across in front of me. And take in mind, I'd hunted in those woods all my life, but never that far in. Never went that far back in there. And just a few minutes after they took off to the right, running like somebody had shot at them, over to my left, I see this big tall cane, about 10 or 12 foot tall. It's starting to sway from the back to the front. And I'm thinking this must be one massive deer coming out of this, because this stuff is so thick that a person can't walk through it. And it was just moving it, and you can see the tops moving back and forth. And I was fixed on that area. I had my gun laid against a bar in front of me in my tree stand. It's a little metal bar, and it pulls a camo cover out over from about your neck down, covers your boots up. And I'm sitting there with my gun leaning against the bar, and I pull back the trigger. It was a 50 caliber single shot black powder rifle. And
Wow.
thinking, well, this is a big buck coming out of here. And then all of a sudden, this huge, massive creature steps out. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was pretty, I was just shocked. I kept looking, thinking, what is that? You know, it was so shocking. I'd never seen anything in those woods before. And it takes one step out of this cane thicket and just leaps completely across the creek to the other side. And right on top of that side was a game trail. And this creek's probably 10 or 12 foot wide right in that spot, but it's deep, pretty good deep water that runs continuously. But and it walks down right in front of me on that game trail, and it stops and turns and looks right at me, and I'm up in a tree, kind of overlooking it. I'm about 25 foot up in this tree. And this thing is looking at me like it wants to kill me. It was the meanest, ugliest looking thing that I've ever seen. Still today, and I've seen a lot of creatures since then, but it just looks at me like it wants to kill me, and it's really mad at me, and it has kind of a disc contortion right side of its mouth, kind of hard to explain. And then it looks at me and growls. And I've never heard a growl like that since. There was a really deep growl from like an inside type growl, so hard to explain. And then it showed me its teeth. And when it showed me its teeth, by this time, I was just literally froze in the tree. I didn't know what to do. You know, when you see something that size, you're wondering, I got one shot. Will this kill this creature? This one bullet? And if you miss or it doesn't kill him, you know, you're thinking this thing's coming across the creek to pull me out of this tree over there. So, you know, I pretty much just watched it for a few minutes, and then it turned to the right, and it went just a little ways past where I was looking down on it, and it reached up in that tree where I had that drag rag with that scent on it, pulled it down and smelled of it, and then it just ripped the whole tree limb out of the tree. And it wasn't a massive limb. It was probably 3 or 4 inches diameter where it met into the full part of the tree. But it was still a pretty good, shocking how it just ripped it down like that.
Yeah.
And it come back, and then it was just staring at me with the meanest look, like it was really mad at me. By this time, I was completely froze and could barely breathe. I was trying to get my breath. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And then it lets out this scream. I'd call it like a scream yell combined. And it is the loudest, longest scream. And it just echoed down that hollow. And by this time, I don't get scared easy. I've been around everything, but I was probably I had more fear in me than I'd ever had. I thought this thing was just going to come across the creek and just pull me out of the tree. And I'm sitting there pretty much frozen, just not knowing what to do, afraid to fire on it because, you know, if I don't kill it with one bullet, I didn't think one would. And then all of a sudden it just turns and it walks back away. And it stops and turns and looks at me one more time to its left. And it goes, I watched it go into the wood line. And I wasn't going to take 15 or 20 minutes to climb down that tree with that climbing stand. So I just lowered the bar in front of me, just jumped out of that tree, like 25 foot up, and slid in the leaves all the way down into the creek. And looked across the creek where the creature went, didn't see it, and ran back up the creek and run as fast as I could up that hillside. And just kept running as fast as I could. And when I got over the second hill, I was going up the second hill. I looked back and it was on the hill looking at me, watching. And that gave me more adrenaline. I was pretty scared. I've never been that scared before. And I just kind of kicked it into gear and it didn't come after me. It might not have been the same one, but it was watching me one it looked like it. And by the time I got over the last hill, I jumped a barbed wire fence there going down that hill and tore my pants all the way up past my leg, tore a big gash in them, but I didn't even feel that. I was trying to get across this sage field that was about 200 yards wide to get to my grandfather's back door. And kept looking back, didn't see it, and ran into my grandfather's house and looked out the door and locked the door and the screen door and went into the right and sat down in the living area. My grandfather had an old farmhouse out in the country, and it was, of course, the old wood lapboard and had a tin roof on it. And I went and sat down in the corner, and I was so out of breath, couldn't speak. And he kept looking at me and said, "Boy, what's wrong with you?" My granddad always called me boy. He never called me by my name. And he was 92 years old at that time. And he was in great health. And it took me a few minutes to get my breath. And then I finally told him, I said, "I don't know what I seen. It was some kind of monster." And he started laughing. He goes, "Well, monster? What do you mean a monster?" And I described it. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, you seen a wood booger." And I said, "Well, I don't know what I'd seen, but it was the meanest, ugliest thing I've ever seen." And he got into details of what I'd seen. He'd seen 4 of them in his lifetime, so he knew about them. But that was how I got started in this. And didn't go in the woods for probably 7 years. What hunting I did do was out of my truck in a field or somewhere, just sat in the truck with my gun. And had nightmares for a long time over that, and never been back to that spot since. Of course, my grandfather's passed now, but somebody else owns that farm, but I've never been back there since. Don't know that I want to go back there. I think now I don't feel as fearful of them as I did then because I've had a lot of good experiences also.
Yeah, and I kind of want. I mean, that's a pretty. And if that was my first encounter, I know I would be traumatized. And just like Cosmic Joe Chronicles says, he said he would be scared ishless too. And yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is. So what because there's been obviously footprints that have been found out there. Some people even say they found hair, things of that nature. In your eyes, are these things, well, obviously they're physical at some point here, but do you think they live here? Do you think they live in this reality, just off in the woods somewhere? Or do you think once the sighting is over, they step back into their timeline or their dimension? What do you think about
Well,
that?
since that time, I probably, first of all, probably would have never got over that. It really told on me pretty heavy. I was pretty fearful of the woods and what could be in there. But if I hadn't had my second encounter in about 7 years later while I was fishing, which really changed my life, really made me feel more comfortable around them.
Mm.
I think personally, well, I've been very fortunate. I don't really know why, but I've been around a lot of these creatures since then, good and bad. And I think they're physical. I think they have a special ability. I think they have special powers, as I guess I can put it. My research team now mainly consists that I'm not in Bigfoot very much now. I'm mainly in Dogman the last 7 or 8 years with Martin Groves, my best friend, and BArton Nunnelly. And recently, Ron Morehead has kind of joined us, and that's pretty much my team. And I've learned a lot by watching these creatures, and I've been fairly close to them. And there's different types. And I know that for sure. I believe that I've seen three different types. I've never seen another one like the one I've seen in 1992. But they do have a way of, I believe, well, I know they do. They have a way of transferring their energy. Of course, any matter turns into energy, and these things, which I consider my good friend Ron Morehead's book, Quantum, uh, is one of the best reads anybody can read if they want to read up on that. It takes a lot of thought, and you have to read it 2 or 3 times before it sinks in. At least I did. But they have the physical powers from their energy to transfer it into something else. Me personally, I've never seen one go interdimensional or cloak, but I have seen them walk behind a tree and just never come out.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for them to go. I think they do transfer into orbs. I've seen many orbs in the woods, and big orbs, little orbs, and even seen some orbs with what looked like a Bigfoot face inside of it. So I think they have special abilities. Energy transform is what I call it, which Ron refers to it as quantum. So I think they're flesh and blood. Yes, I do think that.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. Like I said, because I became open to, once I realized that reality really isn't real, like reality really isn't reality. And then I started thinking about all the other things out that we know are actual things, like space being an infinite thing, and just
Right,
different things that you can't really wrap your mind around, that kind of goes against everything that we are supposedly supposed to believe reality is. So with that being broken, then that just opens up the possibility for pretty much anything to be on the table. So when I look at these things, what I'm trying to do is try to find what the most logical explanation could be. I mean, and we always hear about reports of people seeing the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, and then losing sight of it. Like you stated, go behind a tree and then be gone at that point. Whether it's doing something like cloaking, or more plausibly, probably stepping into another dimension. Because what would be, and I think you kind of answered it, but what would be if you had to guess? I think you just really said it, but where they
right.
go at the end of the day.
Well, I know for one thing that it's just really hard to believe until you witness it yourself. Like I said, I've been around many of these creatures, and I do think some of us, for some reason, I don't know why. I have some American Native in me, quite a bit of it, and from my grandmother, from her being a Lakota Sioux, full blooded, and that may have something to do with it. She always told me that I had special abilities when I was a kid, but a lot of grandparents tell their kids that. So,
Yeah.
but I think that for some reason, some people see them, some people don't. I don't understand how that works, because I've got friends that's been in the woods for 40 years or longer hunting, and they've never seen anything.
Mm.
Then I can go in the woods, or Martin Groves can go with me, and we're liable to see two or three in the first couple of hours. But I don't know how we're chosen to be able to see them. I don't think everybody has that ability to see them. And the way these things camouflage themselves is absolutely amazing. They can look just like a tree, and you could walk right by them. I've done it.
Yeah.
Or a bush. They just blend in so well, and they're so still. These things are super intelligent. They're not an ape. They're an ancient people, and they have their own language. They understand our language. They know what words mean. They know what my native language. When I speak words, they react to those words, and they have their own language. They know English. They're intelligent, very intelligent, more intelligent than some people.
Yeah, I
Super
hear
elusive.
that.
Super elusive, also.
I hear that. Now let me ask you. So if we if you just had to theorize, okay, so say we're going down the path of, okay, these things come from this side dimension. They step in. They come in as orbs, potentially maybe off of one of these ships, and then they manifest themselves here on the ground. What do you think the time they would be spending here on Earth on the ground? What do you think the goal for them is while they're here? Like, is there been any pattern created on, are they coming down to forage potentially, or what would you think they're
Well,
coming down here to do?
I've got a very close friend in my group. Of course, my group is Bigfoot believers and other creatures, and most of my admin in there are super knowledgeable. All of them are, and they've been around these creatures and other creatures for many years. And Jennifer Appleton is one of my admin, and she's actually been abducted by a UFO so many times throughout her lifetime, along with Robin Haynes too, who's also one of my admin. And she's actually Jennifer has seen a Bigfoot on a spaceship when she was abducted. So, I don't know. I've never seen an alien, and I've never seen a spaceship, but I do believe her. I know she's 100% honest, her and Robin both. I think there's a difference, first of all, in my opinion, from what I've learned from my own experiences. I'm no expert at anything and don't claim to be. I only speak of my own experiences and my own encounters of learning from them. I spent almost 3.5 years with a family of people call them Bigfoot. There's a difference between the forest people, the Bigfoot, and the Sasquatch. They all look similar, but they're different. The forest people are completely different. They're not aggressive. Um, they're friendly. They don't want to be harmed. They don't like guns. They don't like cameras. They think the camera, the picture takes a picture of you take a picture of them. They think it takes a piece of their soul. So these creatures live here all the time. They're not just getting in a spaceship and taking off somewhere. Now, like I said, there's different types of these creatures. There could very well be some of those that do that. And I think there probably is because Jennifer has spoken of seeing one on a spaceship. But the ones that I'm speaking of, the ones I've been around, not all of them, but the ones I befriended on the river back in '99 through about 2000 and almost 2004, they lived there all the time. They never left the area. And they were real friendly and non aggressive. Um, I learned a lot from them, a whole lot from them. But they were the forest people. They're different than the Bigfoot, and
Yeah.
they're just a different type of creature. I don't know how to, it's kind of hard to explain until you've been around them. They're not there to harm you unless you try to harm them or their family.
Yeah,
Now,
and then going off of that, because Robin Haynes definitely friend here at Spaced Out Radio for sure. Shout out Robin Haynes.
yeah,
But I would, okay. So let's do this. Let's rewind because I know you talked about your first experience, which what could be considered not to be the most pleasant experience, but you did back that up with your next experience was a positive one. So if you wouldn't mind talking about that experience, so we can see the parallel and kind of go
sure.
from there.
Yeah, basically, I wasn't looking for these creatures. After my first experience, I didn't never want to see another one. Had no intent to go looking for them. Didn't go into woods hunting. Quit hunting. Only time I hunted was out of my truck, like I said, out of one of the fields that my grandfather owned or my own property where I have deer. But I run into these creatures. And my second experience it started in March of '99, and I was fishing in a spot on the Cumberland River in Tennessee that I'd fished for years, but I hadn't been in there in quite a few years. Me and a couple of high school buddies had fished there, and it was down on an old gravel type road, and it was behind what was a water sewer treatment plant there, and
Hmm.
You park down behind it, and you couldn't park in there unless you knew somebody. And my friend's uncle worked there, and he had fished down there, and nobody in public didn't even know this place existed. This is just a special spot that he learned from his uncle working there. His uncle fished there some, but not very often. And I'd pull down behind there, and I'd go through this area. It's probably 100 yards to this real thick woods, and it's got a game trail through it. You pull down in the back, go through a gate, and they'll allow you to park your car there because you know the people that work there. And nobody's ever back there unless it's me and those two guys that I mentioned, and they didn't go much anymore. So I walked down this path back through the gate, and it's 120 yards back there. And for first week I was down there, it was in March, and it's a real good place to crappie and sauger fish that time of year with minnows in the Cumberland River. And there's a little creek that runs out next to the spot. It's a clearing in the woods, and there's a sandbar that runs down out from the creek to about middle ways of the river, and you can walk out to that sandbar. And you have to do that when you catch a fish. You don't get your line hung in the roots sticking out of the bank. So you have to walk down that and reel it in. Well, what happened basically, I don't want to take a lot of time breaking down the story how it happened. But after I'd caught a fish that first day, I hadn't been down there in quite a few years. But I knew it was a good spot. One day I just remembered it and went down there. And I carried a bucket of minnows. And when I came back up after catching my fish, I had a 5-gallon bucket I set on next to a tree. And I carried my tackle and all that in the bucket, along with a stringer for the fish. And I caught a fish, walked down that sandbar and took it off and hung it on the stringer in the water, and came back up to rebait my hook, which was a minnow bucket set next to that 5-gallon bucket that I set on. My minnow bucket was gone. And I couldn't figure out what happened to my minnow bucket. The styrofoam minnow bucket, it just, it's full of water. And it's not anything that's going to blow away. It's heavy. And the wind wasn't blowing that day. It was a sunny day, but it was cool. And couldn't find my minnow bucket. Looked for it everywhere. Couldn't figure it out. Got to looking around thinking maybe somebody was in there, had taken my bucket, but I didn't think there was. And there's this big, huge patch of kudzu, like big ivy-looking stuff to the left of it. And it had a game trail. The game trail continued down through that, but it was real thick. You had to get on your knees almost to get through there. And I went and looked around that. I looked around the bank. Couldn't find my, anyway, long story short, I couldn't find my bucket. So I went back, and I had a fish down there. I turned it loose and went on back. I didn't have any bait. Next week I came back, was fishing, caught 2 or 3 fish, came back up, minnow bucket was gone again. But this morning it was kind of windy. It had been storming. The water was up. I couldn't see the sandbar. And I started thinking maybe the wind blew this one over because it was kind of windy, but I couldn't find my bucket again. So I started thinking, well, somebody's in here and they're stealing my minnow bucket. So I got kind of alarmed about it. Looked around. I didn't see any footprints, and you could see footprints all around the area I was setting. There was deer tracks and everything else because I was setting on this game trail. So next week, I think it was actually 2 weeks before I came back. But this time, I tied a small rope on the metal handle to the minnow bucket, and I tied it around that tree. I tied the end of the rope around that tree behind where I was setting on the 5-gallon bucket. And that way, if something tried to get my bucket, I would be able to see it because it was tied to the handle on the minnow bucket. And I went down and caught a couple fish. I'd come back up. Minnow bucket hadn't been bothered. Rebaited, went down and caught a fish. I'm coming back up. I think it was the 3rd time I was coming back up. And this day, the sandbar was out of the water. The water was back to normal level. And I came back up and I looked and I started to sit on the bucket to get my minnows, and I looked, and my minnow bucket was pulled down into that kudzu, and it was stretched tight with that rope that I'd tied around the tree. The rope was straight, and it was going down in there. And I had brought my 410 shotgun with me that day because I didn't know if it was a person in there or what was going on. I was a little nervous about what was taking my minnow bucket. And so I picked up my shotgun and I went down finding that lid, followed to the line where it was stretched tightly on that game trail going into all that thick undergrowth. And laid my gun down and went up under there and grabbed my minnow bucket and looked at it. And all the minnows were gone in the bucket but one. The top was off of it, and all the water had sloshed out. And it had just a little bit of water in it. And I had roughly 3 or 4 dozen minnows left in there. And I thought, this is really strange. Now, who would take all the minnows out of the bucket? And I was kind of puzzled. So I laid the gun down. And I crawled up in there a little ways. You could stand up, but all this was on your back. It was real thick. Mm-hmm. I looked over to the left, and there's a minnow bucket laying there. I looked over to the right a little further down, and there was another minnow bucket. I thought, well, there's the 2 minnow buckets that I lost the previous week. So I reached over there and grabbed those, came back out, and I started to pick my minnow bucket up. And when I did, where that water had sloshed out next to it, it was real muddy. There was a track. It looked like a human track right next to the bucket. And I started thinking, well, that's kind of strange. Who would be in here in the winter? This was like March. We had snow, and it was probably in the low 40s, maybe high 30s that day I was there. Who would be out here walking around barefooted, and this time of year and stealing minnow buckets? Well, I immediately thought that it was a person, so I grabbed my minnow bucket and went over and sat next to the tree, left my fishing poles out there like I was fishing, but I wasn't fishing. I had my mind on looking to the left, and I was acting like I was fishing, trying to catch whatever. I thought it was a person who was stealing my minnow bucket. And I sat there maybe an hour or two and kept looking at him, my peripheral vision to the left, and I caught a glimpse of something moving. And I looked over, and it was a small creature. It was holding on to a tree, a small tree, and it was sticking its head out of that kudzu looking at me like that. I thought, is that a person? And then I kept looking at it, and I noticed it was not a person. I knew immediately after I caught the glimpse the second time what it was. It was another one of these creatures. And my immediate thought was, oh no, I don't want to be around these things again. So I was kind of alarmed, and I had my shotgun over there against the tree to my right side, and I was facing on my left side looking at this creature. And it just got down like this again and looked at me, and it was just staring at me. And it wasn't a large one. It was maybe 5 foot tall. It was bent. It was squatted down and just leaning out looking at it. And I watched it and thought about it and watched it. It didn't seem aggressive. It seemed more curious. And I watched it for a good while, and I got up and got my gear together, and I left. And I thought about it for a week or two. I thought, do I want to be around these creatures again? Because it didn't look like the one I'd seen prior, my first encounter. But I thought about it for a week or two before I went back in there, and I was just curious. I didn't want to fear these things, so I went back. And this next time when I went back, I just threw my lines out with nothing on the hooks and set the minnow bucket there and had my shotgun against the tree. And my main goal was to see these creatures. And I sat for a good while, probably 3 hours maybe. And then I noticed may have been the same one. It looked like it. I noticed it looking out at me again, and I looked back at it, and I watched it, and it watched me. It didn't. I tried to motion it. I put my hand up, and it didn't do anything. I was trying to get some kind of communication out of it. And then a little shortly after that, a little later, I seen another one behind that one. It was about the same size as that one. They were both just looking at me down this trail. And I started trying to talk to them and say things to them. And of course, they didn't do anything. They just looked at me like I was crazy. And but I felt comfortable with them. I didn't feel fear like I did with the first one. I think it really helped me more than hurt me. If I hadn't seen these creatures, I probably would have always felt like I did. And I started going in there regularly. This wasn't very far from where I worked. And I started going in there every day, every other day, and just carrying my bucket with no shotgun and just sitting there just waiting for them to look at me. And they would. There was the same two that would come out and look at me. And then I started bringing them, before I even heard of gifting, I started bringing them things. I brought them some marbles, some balls, some different toys, some different things. And I made a little wood box and put it in that tree above where I was at and nailed it in there. There was a fork between that and the tree. And I would put the gifts up there, and when I would come in every time, I'd say, "Hey, I'm here to visit you." I would announce myself, and I'd go over and sit down, and they got where they would come out every time, and they heard my voice, and they were just watching me. And they would come and get the gifts. I would leave, and they would come and get them. And then I started bringing them some food, and I found out what they liked in food. I probably bought everything you could think of in there, but cantaloupe is their favorite food. Bacon is cooked bacon is who doesn't like cooked bacon, but that's their favorite food. But and they also enjoy they love any kind of bread product, any kind of bread product. But became friendly with them, and this went on for a long time. And they started recognizing me, and they were more friendly with me. And I would go in and I would talk to them, and they would come a little closer. They would come out and sit down and look at me. And the tallest one was probably about 5.5 foot tall. She was a female. The other one behind her was a little bit taller than her, and he looked like a male. And after a while, there was a third one that appeared, and he was about 7 foot tall, a male. All of them were black, and I tried to communicate with them. I would tell them all the time. I'd tell them my name. Please tell me your name. And they never answered or never told me. They started leaving me gifts. They left me a half-gallon milk carton, a cardboard milk carton they probably found in the river. It was faded out. At one time it was red, but it turned pink. And they stuck sticks through all four sides, and they come out to form an X on every point. And then they had vines wrapped around it. I still got it. It was actually pretty cool. And I realized they had X's all over the trails. They would leave me X's like that right next to the box and other little stick structures. And the X's, after an amount of time, that was the marker of their family. Their marker was an X. So I learned a whole lot from them over almost 3.5, 4 year period, and I was getting closer to them. And most astonishing thing that I just couldn't believe, I would go in and talk to them and try to get communication. When I started walking into the woods from the area, I would start announcing I was there, and I could hear them. They'd start making noises and running through the vines, and there was other ones in there, but they didn't come out and show themselves. And I was bringing them these gifts, and one day I was in a dime store, and I brought some whistles, some little plastic red and white whistles like you give at a birthday party. There was like 8 or 10 of them in a pack. They had little black strings on them. And I hung those whistles on the limbs up there after I'd talked to them for a while. They just sat and looked at me. And when I left, I said, "I'll see you later. I'll be back tomorrow." And bye. I said, "I'll see you later. Bye." And then that was the first time I heard 3 of them say, "Bye." bye. They were mocking what I had said by saying bye. And I was like, wow, they can actually speak. So I left those whistles. I came back in a couple of days later. And right when I came into the area, I would announce myself, hey, I'm here. And I heard these whistles blowing everywhere. They were blowing straight ahead, off to the right, one across the river. They were coming from all directions. And then I realized these things were very intelligent because they were blowing the whistles to relate to me that they were glad I was there. After I got set down, where I normally sit down, they would quit blowing them. And I was still trying to get communication out of them, tell them my name. And it wasn't long after that. I think it was a couple of days later, I was in there one morning. I brought them some jelly-filled donuts. That was their favorite treat. And they would actually run out and take them and run back in there and sit down and eat them. I would put them on a little tray. And that morning I said, my name is Darrell. Please tell me your name. I've been asking them this for probably 2 years. I always ask them, please tell me your name. And I was reaching down to put some more donuts over there, and all of a sudden I hear Aleatha. And I looked up and I said, did you say something? And she just looked at me, didn't say anything. And I said, who said Aleatha? And she still didn't say anything. And I looked down and then she goes, Aleatha again. And I said, your name is Aleatha. And she shook her head. And then the one behind her, the tall, bigger one, head came out a little later. The younger one behind her, about her size, never said anything. But the tall, bigger one behind that one, that's about 7 foot, he told me, Tobias. That's the only words I ever got out of him.
Wow.
So I was I was in shock. I couldn't believe these things could speak English. So
yeah, and that's kind of what I want to get into. Is what we'll have to do. We'll have to pause for the cause.
yes, sir.
Take a break now. I do want to say that I'm never here to judge any the validity or not validity of something that's being said, but I can say that from the way you recall these stories, that it definitely sounds like something that took place. You know what I mean? And I think there's a gravity and a heaviness to that when you listen to you describe what actually took place. And I have a question that I want to get into
Sure.
about that, because I know with the interfacing with humans, what is, if you had to guess, and I guess you can answer this after the break, what would be the end goal for them? Do they want to integrate? Do they want to be respected? Or, like what would be their purpose of long term for wanting to interact with humans? And we'll get to that right after this break. You guys get your questions ready so that way I can go ahead and save them for our guest, Darrell Denton. And we will ask those in hour number 2 as we come back talking about some more Sasquatch and getting into the Dogman. I have a friend, Dogman UK, who's big into this, and we've talked about things. So I have questions there too. So you guys kick back, and we'll be right back with our guest, Darrell Denton, right after this. Yes, 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 yes. Welcome back, everybody, to After Hours. No, hour number two, Spaced Out Radio, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and our guest tonight, Mr. Darrell Denton, as we have been talking about Sasquatch and just asking probing questions, because I'd like to know, what the future holds for Bigfoot research and how we're able to get to a place where we can officially recognize these cryptids as things that are here along with us. So, welcome, Darrell. Thank you for coming back here. And
Sure, man. Thank you for having
um,
me. Yeah.
yeah, no problem at all. Awesome conversation. And yeah, I was asking right at the end of the last hour. Um, with this, so assuming that these Bigfoot, Sasquatch are here, they live here full time. We often find them interacting with humans, and I've heard various people, talk about the gifting spots, and then just that subtle interaction between Sasquatch and human beings. Do you, if you had to guess, just based on your research and your dealing with Sasquatch, do you think that there's a long term goal for them? Do they want to integrate, or is there ever a point where the relationship goes further than just interactions with gifting spots and just trivial interactions where maybe they step in and we may potentially play a meaningful role in their development, or how does that cross, or do you have any perspective on that?
Well, I got several theories on it. Of course, it is a theory or guess. Like I
Yeah.
said before, I can only tell you what I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're a very. I don't think they're here to harm any. First of all, like I said, there's different types of these creatures. Now, some of these creatures, I have no doubt in my mind, they will hurt you. And I know they will. I've had my house terrorized in 2020, and those tried to kill me. But I was in a completely different area, and after we had orbs all around us for weeks, that happened. And I was also in the Blue Ridge Mountains a year later because I didn't want to feel like they were bad, and those were friendly. So I don't really know. I think they're here to help us. I know they have special powers that could help us. I don't think all of them are. Like I said, I think the forest people, which I relate to, like the ones on the river, who I was very close to those. I actually slept in there with them in my sleeping bag, 20 foot from them. And they never bothered me. They never tried to harm me. They were actually protective of me. But, I would have probably still been friends with them if they had disappeared. But, there are other types that I believe are here to harm us, and they will harm us. Dogman's a whole different creature when you start talking about that. I think I never heard of Dr. Matthew Johnson back in that day. I've read all kinds of books and talked to different people with their speculation theories and what they think they are and what they aren't. And I had a friend named Michael Patterson, not Michael Patterson from Canada, but another Michael Patterson who was in my group. And he called me up back in, I think it was around 2017, and he said, "You need to listen to this guy named Dr. Matthew Johnson." And he said, "He sounds like he's crazy. He's far out there, but you need to listen to what he's got on these tapes he has." And he had tapes at that time called The Great Reveal 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And I said, "Who is it again?" He said, "I don't know. His name's Matthew Johnson." He goes, "I went across him. Somebody told me to listen to him. You need to listen to this guy because he had a similar occurrence like you did." After I listened to him, I was shocked because I didn't think the guy was crazy at all, because he had experienced things that I'd experienced. And it was very shocking, very similar at what I'd experienced with these creatures on the river, which I call the forest people. And I'd asked those creatures on the river many times, "Where did you come from? Where are y'all from? How did you get here? Do you know who Jesus Christ is?" They would shake their head, yes, they did know. "Where did you come from?" And they would point up. I don't know if that meant heaven, a different galaxy. I said, "Did you come from a different galaxy or heaven?" And they would just shake their head. They never gave me an answer in words. But after I listened to Dr. Matthew Johnson's tapes, I was actually shocked to death that this guy had experienced some of the same things that I had, and I'd never heard of him. And after, he's actually had more communication with them than I have. And, I know that took a long time to do that, but, his theory is what they told him, and he still talks to them. Some of you may know Dr. Matthew Johnson. Some of you may think he's crazy, but I know he's not. I've experienced a lot of the same things he has, but he thinks they came here from another galaxy or another planet. They were brought here thousands of years ago. His clan, what I call clan, his family of these particular creatures, he had the same type I do, the one that made the X's. And he called them the Xanu, Xanue. And I've started calling them the Xanu because I think that's the same type I had on the river. Now, they weren't like the first one I'd seen. That's a regular Bigfoot or Sasquatch. They look similar, but they're different kind of creatures. That type will hurt you. The ones I had on the river never had any intention of harming me. And that's not saying all the Sasquatch or Bigfoot are like that. Some of those are friendly too, because I've run into some of those that were friendly. But you don't know their intentions. And they're also smart enough that they can trick you. They know what you're thinking when you go in. I have no doubt about that. They all do. They know what your intent is. They know your heart, what you're thinking. If you're there to harm them, they know it. And they can smell the gunpowder if you're hiding a gun. I have no doubt. When you get out of your vehicle to go into your area to research, they already know you're there. They've got a scout watching you, usually a young one. They'll belly crawl. They'll run on all fours. They'll walk on 2 feet. And they're very intelligent, and they know. But I think they have abilities. If you have ever read about Dr. Matthew Johnson, he's a lot further along in this than I am on the particular group of family creatures I met. But they've actually healed some people, including him. put their hands on him and healed him. And I've never seen anything like that or been that close to one. I've never had one touch me, but I was pretty close on the river. I was within 5 foot of those creatures, and they trusted me, but I never touched one. So, you
Now
know,
look.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say. I was gonna say real quickly. Actually, just looking at this because you know, just kind of talking through this. And this may be nothing at all. Obviously, we talk about how art imitates life. How just looking back at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, how Steven Spielberg they say potentially has some whispers in his ear about things to put into this movie. Then you go back to obviously a George Lucas with the Star Wars. You have the Chewbacca
Right.
character who
Yeah.
is aboard a spaceship in travel space and make some of the same vocalizations that people refer to in Bigfoot sightings. So just making that point, kind of putting that aside, when you speak about the benevolent ones, and then did you say no doubt there's definitely ones out there that will hurt you?
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at that and I compare it directly to the feeling that I have about these ETs and how the government obviously holding back the knowledge of or the confirmation essentially that these things are actually here and landing and getting out and taking people. So you know, I look at that side by side with Bigfoot because you have people for on the ET side like myself that travel. I take all the back roads, all the dark roads when I travel. It's just something I do, and so. But I would be a person that would want to know, hey, you know, there's these things out there that abduct people. So having that knowledge, I can make a choice if I want to take a drive like that or not. And then you move that over to the Bigfoot side, Sasquatch, and then even Dogman, as we'll get into,
Mm-hmm.
with these things being out there in the woods, and we know how many families, you know, who are unwittingly walking into somewhere potentially where these Sasquatch might be, and come across one of these aggressive ones that
Mm-hmm.
could potentially harm them. So I think it's very important on both sides of that to get to a place where you know, if these things are there and they can hurt you, to have the knowledge out there for the average person who really doesn't have a clue to know, hey, yeah, if you go into these woods, there's the potential that you may have to deal with something like this. So with the research that goes into Sasquatch and maybe some of the research you've done or even seen your peers do you see anything on the horizon that gets us closer to a point to where maybe there's a larger understanding and a confirmation that those things are in the woods? That way we could have something like maybe these Bigfoot signs like you see on Dave Scott's background, Bigfoot signs maybe in the woods like bear crossing or
Right.
yeah, get the same sort of things there so that people are aware. Do you see any of the research that's currently going on or tools that are being used that may actually get us to a point to where we have something like that?
Well, I can only tell you what I know. And like I said before, I know for a fact that the forest people are the only ones that make the large X's. And there'll be trees maybe 40, 50 foot tall, and they're snapped at the bottom, and they make huge X's in the woods. They also make them on the ground. They'll lay X's on the ground, sticks across each other. That's a definite sign of the good ones. The aggressive ones that I've been around, when you see a tree twisted, I mean, completely like a tree 4 or 5 inches big around, and it's just twisted, like massive strength that these things have. When it's twisted around and around, it's twisted. That's a sign of the bad one. They don't want you in the area. They don't want anything to do with you. You're better to stay out of there. You never know what you're dealing with in the forest, and that's a big problem that we run into in the national park. If you follow Dave Pilatus like I do, he's a personal friend.
Yes.
You got the shocking example. You got, I think the number is 60,000, which is an incredible number. The Yosemite National Park has more people missing from it than any place in the world, not the
Yeah.
United States, the world. And you've got so many people missing in all these areas. I'm sure that some of these bad ones could be taken, some of them. I don't necessarily think it's one cryptid or one type. I think it's something we don't know about, something unknown, because it's too many, the coincidences are just way out there when you've got people missing and all you find is their shoes and nothing
Yes.
else of them. I mean, a Bigfoot doesn't take you and leave your shoes. So I don't know what's doing it. I wish I did. I'm sure we all do. I do know there are particular signs for the aggressive ones. If you're in the woods, you got to be very careful. I get hundreds of questions a month. People will message me. How do I go research Bigfoot? Well, first of all, you don't ever find Bigfoot. He finds you. And if
Hmm.
you go in there with ill intention, you're carrying a camera, you're carrying a M45 or AK-45, whatever, and you're scared to death, you're not going to see a Bigfoot because they're not going to get around you because they've witnessed their family being killed over the last hundreds of years and shot at and everything else because people are terrified of them. And the national park industry, they're not going to go tell you, okay, there's large hairy creatures running around in the woods and they're killing people because, the national park is a $2.8 billion a year industry. And you start telling people there's Dogman and Bigfoot running around in the woods that might harm you or kill you. You can imagine what kind of dent it's going to put on the budget of mom and pop camping out in the woods with the grandkids in the weekend. So, the government doesn't do a lot to help us when it comes to these type creatures or our safety. Their main concern is the dollar,
Yeah.
and it is in every other position. And I'm not getting into a political point here. I'm just putting out a
No, it's
total
true.
understanding. So
Yeah.
I tell people all the time when they ask me, I say, be very careful when you go in. You don't know what you're going to encounter. You may encounter a dog man. I've seen two dog men. Neither one of them tried to kill me. One of them could have killed me easily. But that don't mean there's just not one that will kill you. And I know that some of the Bigfoot will kill you because I had two, maybe three that tried to kill me. So, it's you're taking a chance when you go out there. I would never tell anybody to go by themselves. I would say go with somebody. And, the creatures, act normal if you want to see them. Go into the woods and sit down in a spot and just act normal. If you play a guitar, go out in the woods and sit down and play a song. Or just whatever, just act normal. And they will come around if they feel your intensity of you being good. They can feel what kind of person you are somehow, some way. They do read. I've never mind spoke with them. I've had them try to mind speak with me, but I wouldn't allow them because I was afraid they might make me think something that I didn't want to think and then trick me because these things are very elusive and very intelligent. Now, I know the forest people can harm you unless you harm them, but there's other ones that it's pretty much like my close friend Scott Carpenter, who unfortunately is not here any longer, like he said. There's no doubt these things looked at you. Some of them do, and they size you up for the next meal. And I think some of them would do that. But I don't think all of them would. But, it's just like people. There's good and bad in everything.
Right. Right, and you actually is excellent that you actually answered my next question, which was, with those families that go out there unknowingly, unwittingly going into these woods, not even thinking about Bigfoot being a thing, and then come across something aggressive and end up missing and end up
Right.
with David Paulides with the missing 411. And by the way, I don't know if you said you know him, please let him know that I would love to have him on and talk to him about that specific thing, the missing 411, if you when next time you talk to him. But
Well, David is a friend. I don't talk to him regularly. My close friend Ron Morehead is very close with David. So,
okay, okay, so we'll look into some of the names that you mentioned here as well. But segueing, because that was my last piece on Bigfoot. Segueing, and I guess kind of a question to segue would be, so you have Bigfoot experiences, then you have Dogman experiences. Now, to someone on the outside like myself, technically, I've never experienced either one. What are there different? I mean, are there similarities? There's obviously differences. Are there similarities? Are these two separate beasts as far as their origin? And kind of what do you feel you're feeling on based on your own experience is behind the Dogman phenomena, and how do they relate or not relate to Sasquatch?
well, it's definitely a whole different creature. No doubt about that. Um, Martin Groves and I are best friends. We have been best friends 42 years. He was chief deputy sheriff in my county, and I was the mayor there. Well, I was involved in politics and elected official and a mayor there for involved in all of it about 26 years. Me and Martin were
Nice.
best friends in the same county, and he had his first experience in '93 with a dog man trying to kill him in the LBL, Land Between the Lakes. I had my first experience, of course, in '92 when I thought a Bigfoot was going to kill me. But we couldn't talk to anybody. And that time, there wasn't any Facebook groups. There wasn't any,
Right.
shows like you have, great radio show, podcasts where you could talk about this kind of stuff. You're on your own. If you told somebody, hey, I seen a Bigfoot or a dog man, they all thought you were crazy, and you surely weren't going to get reelected, and you'd probably get fired from your job for being crazy. So
True.
Martin and I used to go to lunch and talk about this, and I really got into Dogman because of Martin. Martin and I are super close and talk every day and get together as often as we can. And we always spend at least 3 or 4 days a month in certain areas that we go for the Dogman. I had my first experience in 2001, October, of a farm in Tazewell County, Virginia, where I seen my first Dogman. I staked this area out for almost 3 weeks before I finally seen it. A family had told me their goats were killed and told me where to go. They didn't know what was killing them. And I went to the goat area. When I seen the track, I knew it wasn't a Bigfoot. I knew exactly what it was. It was a dog man by the canine type track. And when I seen the first one, it looked like a massive, large German Shepherd. It's exactly what it looked like. The legs, of course, were hot. It ran across a field. I watched it run possibly over 100 yards from one corner of the field to right where my truck was up on over a hill overlooking this area. And when it got to it galloped like a horse. It was not running like a dog. And when it got to the edge of the fence line to the right of the field, it came out of the left top corner. And when it got to the fence line, it stood up. I could not see its feet because there was sage grass there, but I could see its the hot legs in the back. It stood up like a person would, and it took its leg and crossed the fence and just straddled the fence and looked right up in my direction, looked right at me. It had a head like a massive, large German Shepherd. It's exactly what it looked like. A lot bigger than a German Shepherd head, but it looked like a German Shepherd head. It was solid black, and it didn't see me, but it looked in my direction, and then it crossed and went into the woods and went off around that area there. And I actually went in there a day later, 2 days later, by myself, and I tracked that all the way. I tracked it all the way back into that area. I crossed the fence, went back in there, had my rifle with me, and went back there. My basic reason is I wanted to capture it on camera, but I never did get to. And the particular reason I didn't get it that first time I seen it, because all I had with me was a cell phone, and it was one of those old flip phones at that time before I got an iPhone. So It was very difficult to get a picture, but that creature, I never did see it again. The game warden actually made me leave the area. He said there was an animal killing people's animals around that area, and I didn't need to be in there. But it went around that. There was a bluff there that it went to, and it had dug up under that bluff, and it was living under there apparently because I tracked it to that area. I could see the tracks going up under the bluff, but I never. That's as far. I didn't want to go in there by myself, so I didn't. But there was a lot of bones around that area, deer carcass bones. Never did see a creature again. And I left the area after the game warden told me it'd be best for me not to come back. But the second Dogman I seen, that was a definitely flesh and blood type creature. It was flesh and blood. Nothing looked nothing like a Bigfoot. It was a dog looking creature that walked on two legs. So the second one I seen, Martin Groves and BArton Nunnelly and I, and recently Ron Morehead's been with us, and he's going with us again very soon. And we've all started teaming up together. Ron's been a friend of mine a long time, but a real close friend the last year or two. And Martin Groves and I seen a Dogman in the Land Between the Lakes, which is in Tennessee and Kentucky, in October of 2022. And we just did a documentary on that with Small Town Monsters back in October. That'll be out sometime the end of this month. But that creature was completely different. It was nothing like the first one I'd seen. The first one I'd seen was probably about 6.5 foot tall. It wasn't huge, but it was definitely a strange creature. This one, Martin Groves and I were in there close to 1 o'clock in the morning, real close. If you've ever been to the Land Between the Lakes, it's 170,000 acres of originally developed by the Tennessee Valley Authority, and you've got the Barkley River, which is the Cumberland River, where I'd had my first Bigfoot encounter, a long ways from there, but it turns into Lake Barkley when it gets past Cheatham Dam, and it runs in and forms Kentucky Lake, which Kentucky Lake also is very close to the Tennessee River on the east side of it. And it's a large body of water that was created in the 60s, of course, for electric power, the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. That area has roads that go everywhere. And if you don't know where you're at, you can get lost back in there very easy. Martin knows that area better than anybody that I've ever seen. He knows every road, knows how to get in and out of there. And it was the anniversary, 30-year anniversary of his 29th anniversary of his encounter in October of 22 when we were up there. And we were back in the same area where he had the encounter. We weren't in the area, but we were very close. And it's an area not far from there called Devil's Backbone. And when you talk about dark, you can't even see your hand in front of your face out there. It's that dark in those woods. And we were back in there we had just stopped. I don't know how far we were in there, but we had just stopped and pulled his tailgate down, got out and had a snack, and we were talking there. And we got back in. I heard something, but I didn't. It could have been a deer or anything because there's lots of deer and hogs there and everything else. Bigfoot there, everything. We got back in his truck and we're turning on this little dirt road that goes back to where he had his encounter at, and we're probably going maybe 2 miles an hour, just barely moving. You can't drive fast on these old roads anyway because there's just no way to do it. It's gravel, dirt, get stuck very easily on them. And we had just turned on this particular road, and I had my window down on the passenger side. Martin was driving, and we're going real slow, and we're just keeping our eyes out to the right. I'm looking to the right, he's looking to the left, And we're trying to see if we see any eye shine or trying to see if we see anything in there. And all of a sudden, to my right, I seen in a ditch right next to me. It was 5 to 7 feet from me from the window, and I had the window down. Turned out it was a creek bed next to a culvert, because we went back in the daytime and checked it out a few weeks after this happened. I seen this blue-looking mist in this ditch, and then the mist kind of dissipated into a dog-looking creature laying there in the ditch. Its head was out of the ditch, looking, like I said, about 5 foot from me, looking right at me. It's massive. This head is as big as half as a truck window. And when I looked at it, I said, I reached over to tell Martin, and by the time I reached over to touch him and tell him, he goes, I see it. And this thing was massive. It was laying on the ground in these bushes. The head was looking right up at me. It had a huge mane around its neck like a line. The eyes were real deep, clear, just clear, deep eyes, looked like little flashlights in the eyes. And it had like had like a bluish tint, and then it turned into like a silver gray color. And I could see the whole out. It was a dog creature. And it had like little tips of light on each parts of the end of its fur. And it looked at me, and I looked at it, and Martin slowed down a little bit, and I said, by the time I told him what was going on, he'd already seen it. And this thing gets up, and it walks right by the side of our truck, behind the truck, and it's walking. It didn't walk it like it glided across the road behind us. Martin's looking in the rearview mirror. About this time, I start feeling sick. My legs are tingly. My upper chest feels like I've got pressure on it, and I've got a massive headache. I looked over at Martin, and he's gasping for air. He can barely breathe. He goes, I can't breathe. His throat was swelled together, and his tongue swelled up. It had done some type of zapping or infrasound or whatever it is. We particularly think it's a radiation that Bigfoot can do and the Dogman can do. But he could barely breathe. I was worried about him. And this creature goes to the left side of the truck, goes through a field, goes across this small field, and goes up this hillside. And you can hear it breaking limbs and trees and everything as it's going up through the woods. And I said, let's get out of here. And he's trying to drive out of there. And we're a good ways from the main road, which is called the Trace through there. And I didn't think he was going to make it. I said, pull over and let me drive. And he says, no, let me get out of here. And he kept trying to drive out. And we got out to another road and got back to a area where it was lit up, probably 10 or 12 miles from there. There was a restroom area, and I got him out, and I was afraid he was going to I was afraid he was going to pass out. He could barely breathe. And I said, man, what happened? And he says, I don't know, but I can't smell a whole lot because I had COVID back in 20. I can't smell things like I used to. There's only a few things I can smell. And he said the truck was smelling so bad that he couldn't breathe. There was a terrible stench in it. And it was a good hour or two before his throat would quit swelling and he could get his breath. And normally, I wanted to take him to the hospital, but he wouldn't let me do it. And he started getting his breathing back, and he was feeling a little better. And he drank some water. And we talked about it for a little bit. And I said, man, let's get you to the doctor. And he refused to go. And I was feeling better. I still had a headache, and I still felt kind of heavy in my chest, but my legs had quit tingling. And we got to an area probably about 15 miles from there, maybe 20, to an area that you can pull into for a deer check station. And I got him out and got him walking around and trying to get him to feeling better. And we drove on home that night instead of, we were going to stay another night, but he was not in condition. I was really he was sick for a week. Took him over a week to get over that. Myself, I was okay the next day. Um, that was the strangest creature I've ever seen. The weirdest thing about that creature, it was an actual creature, but you could see through it. It was transparent. It was completely transparent, but you could see the creature. It was almost like a cartoon. It was that strange, but it was real. What I think about that, I really don't know. There's all kinds of accusations about there's so many people missing in the LBL, and if you're familiar with Land Between the Lakes, the LBL, that's one of our major research areas that we research regularly. But
Right.
it's you know, at our count, I don't. Martin has kept up with it, interviewed so many people, spent so much time up there doing that over the years. We don't know how many people's missing from there. Our recollection that what he has come up with is probably at least 22 that are missing that we know of. And some of those there have been some found. The bow hunter, I've heard about that. There's the family that was killed there in the 80s where it killed the entire family. The dog, it's called the beast of the LBL. There's a lot of dogman creatures there, and it goes back to as far back as the 1700s of this thing that roamed the area and kill people's animals and livestock. So I don't particularly think that this thing was. It was almost like something, like some kind of something made. It was real, but at the same time, it had a scientific feeling to me.
Yeah.
I don't really know if it's. I've heard people say they're government made. I don't know that. It's
Right.
speculation, but I don't have any. I can't prove any of that. I don't know. I just know what I hear. But I've never seen anything like that. That was the strangest creature I've ever seen. It could have easily killed me. It could have reached right in and grabbed me, but it didn't. Why it didn't, I don't know. Maybe it didn't have the intention to kill, but it had a weird looking grin to its face. It was very strange. It was pretty scary. Um, it would have been a lot worse if it hadn't left quicker than it did. But I don't
Well, I
know
have
what
a,
it.
I have a couple things to say with that because listening to Bigfoot versus Dogman, Bigfoot appears to be in some cases benevolent, sometimes malevolent. However, Dogman appears to be 100% almost like a predator. Potentially, if it's to believe the stories that are told, maybe genetically, some sort of genetics going on there. And the other thing that I can see is that Bigfoot or Sasquatch are mainly seen in the woods, never usually in the city. Whereas I hear reports of dogmen everywhere, in the city, in the woods. So, do
I
they?
I
Yeah.
personally, I have no doubt what I'm about to say is completely true. For some reason, there are more of these creatures now, way more of these. I'm talking about Bigfoot, and there's more of those creatures now, way more of them now than when I got started in it. I don't know why their numbers have increased so much. I hear people say there might be 4 or 5,000 of these in the United States. I start laughing. There's at least that many in Tennessee, so or maybe twice that amount. But
Jesus.
these things are in the cities. I get reports of, I mean, it hadn't been but 2017, 18. I had numerous people of these things coming into cities in the middle of the night from the wood line, coming in and getting into dumpsters and behind restaurants and taking the whole garbage bag with scraps in it for a quick meal. And Scott Carpenter had the same thing up in his area of Tennessee. But I've had plenty of people call me of seeing these things in the neighborhood next to a park. I mean, they're everywhere. They come in, and the biggest portion of them aren't there to harm you. They're curious and elusive, but they love to watch children. I know that they like to watch
I've heard
children,
that too. I've
and
heard that too.
they do not like dogs. I've heard people say, "Well, they don't bother my dog." Well, I've got plenty of people that's contacted me where they ripped the dog in half. So they don't like the barking of a dog. So, Dogman, I don't know. I'm fairly new to researching Dogman, and I'm with people that know a lot more about them than I do, but I do know they exist, and those are the only creatures I've ever seen. I've never seen an alien. I haven't seen the little people. I hear a lot about them. People contact me about them. I've never seen those, but these creatures are a lot more. There's a lot more of them than people think. It would really surprise you when you've got an area of woods and a new subdivision that's just been built. I mean, I was my team when I had two teams, and for quite a few years, we had so many calls that we couldn't even cover them. We would go out to check that location, and the BFRO, is organization. I'm not downgrading them by any means, but the problem you run into with those reports, most of them aren't investigated, and then when they are investigated, you don't know how truthful they are because the people won't completely tell you what they've seen because they're in fear of being ridiculed or it's an estimated that about 75% of none of them are ever reported. People don't want to tell
Right.
anybody what they've seen. So it's very difficult to know, but I didn't, there's no doubt there's a whole lot more of the Bigfoot for sure than there was when I got into it roughly 32 years ago. There's a whole lot more of them. So
Yeah, and it just goes back, right? It goes back to, these Darwin, obviously, from everything I've heard about people who have had encounters with them, that they're just not to be played with. They're no joke at all. Then there's the side of the Sasquatch that show aggressive behavior towards humans, and it's just, if you had to, if they called you in, the government called you in and said, Darrell, let's work on a way to put protocols in place to protect public from, because obviously if you run across one of these things, it's not going to be a good day. So if they called you in and they needed your brain and because of your experience to figure out a way to lay out protocols to keep us safe, what would be the path that you would recommend? Like what would be the maybe top two or three things you'd recommend to kind of make sure that the general public would be safe?
well, I would never tell anybody to go in the woods alone. That'd be my first thing. That's your first mistake. I used to do it all the time. I used to go in the woods for sometimes a week and camp by myself
Right.
when my team couldn't go because I worked. I had to make a living, and I'd go out after work, and those guys had to work, and I have a girl on my team too. She had to work, and I just go by myself, and I'd stay the night and get up and go to work the next day. Sometimes I'd just go in there and take off for 5, 6, 7 days and just stay in there with them. That's the only way you're going to find out what's there. But that's not a safe thing to do. The more I see it now, because my last experience in 2021, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, that was a serious mistake, and I won't make that mistake again. I was in an area, and they were all around me, and they could have easily killed me if they wanted to, but they didn't. But don't go in the woods by yourself. Would be my first thing. Second thing, I would suggest everybody carry a personal beacon because your cell phone's not going to work out there where you're at. Where we go, you might as well leave your cell phone in the truck because you're not going to get a signal because it's in the deep woods and you're not going to pick up anything. Your camera might work. That'd be about it. The third thing is always go with a number of people and don't go at night. When
Mm.
nighttime comes, it's like flipping a switch. Those woods you were at in the daytime enjoying your family with, it's a whole different world when nighttime
Yes.
comes. Those creatures come out to play at night because that's when most of them feed. They're looking for something to eat. And if there's abundance of game there, these creatures feed mainly on deer. The LBL, for example, there's no doubt in my mind the hogs didn't get there. There weren't any hogs in the LBL 20 years ago. Nobody ever heard of a hog. Now they're everywhere. But there's no doubt in my mind that they were put in there for a reason to try to keep them from eating people. So they got to feed on something.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I don't have evidence of missing people from there, but I think there are from my friend Martin's research, and he's very thorough, and he thinks they are. And there's plenty of people that are afraid to talk. I'm talking about former off police officers, former park rangers that have seen things and they're scared to talk about it. But BArton Nunnelly's done a lot of research there too. I'm using that particular area. There's areas like that all over the United States. Texas has got a large area of Dogman sightings there. I don't know about missing people. It's called Dogman Triangle. Michigan's got lots of them. Kentucky's got lots of them. No doubt, Virginia, certain areas does. I'm sure every state's got its area where there's more Bigfoot and Dogman than other areas. They always seem to be close to water. If you find water, river, creek that runs all year round, and abundant woods with plenty of game, you're going to find these creatures in those areas. I would never tell anybody to go out in the dark, especially by themselves. Always have people with you because these creatures seem not to attack or try to harm you if it's a number of people, three or more. They seem to be a little more fearful. And I don't know the reason behind that. It makes sense. It's easier to take one person than it is three. So, but those would be my things. I would definitely say always carry a personal beacon because you can push that beacon and it's going to alert the local authorities. No matter where you're at, they're going to have a pinpoint on their screen there in their office of where you push that beacon.
Yes.
And they're going to send somebody. It may be an hour, but they're coming because that's what those things are designed to do. But never go alone. Be very careful what you do. If you're going to carry a weapon, you have to remember some of these areas, like national parks and even the federal areas that we go into, they don't allow weapons in there unless it's hunting season.
Right.
And it's a
Right.
pretty good, it's an actual prison sentence if you get caught with a weapon in that area. So you've got to be very careful of what you're doing. I don't always carry a weapon with me because I've got one or two other people with me. And I feel a little safer that way, some of the areas we go in. But you got to be very cautious and use your head before you just take off into the woods and decide you want to look for a Dogman or a Bigfoot. Like I said, you're not going to find them, they're going to find you. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, and you make great points here, and I gotta say, I mean, I've talked to people. The advice that you gave there, those protocols are pretty logical, simple protocols. To not go out without someone else, to take a beacon, which so many people don't realize is the thing that you should probably always have with you if you think you're going to be anywhere off the grid,
Yep.
and then to not go out at night, which I would never do, so you won't have to worry about that. But at the same time, you would think that that would be logical, just common sense. And a lot of people claim that they go at night, which would never make any sense to me. But with that being said, so you have you stated that you have a Native American heritage. Um, have you ever cross-referenced what you have found out about Sasquatch and Bigfoot and then Dogman with native lore or folklore to kind of maybe get a head or a better perspective on why this might be?
I've wondered that for a long time, and I've actually talked to other Native Americans that seem to have the same similar things that I have. There's a lot of people out there in this, in what we're involved in with Dogman, Bigfoot, and other creatures that you don't. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that have never come on camera, and those people they don't want to be. They don't want anybody to know who they are. There's people out there that's seen a lot of stuff and they're not ever going to tell anybody. So
Yeah.
from talking to some of those people, I do think I used to think from other people that have told me it seems like for with a lot of people with a different blood type seem to have more abilities. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that from a lot of people. I do think the Native American heritage, even if you have a small amount in you, I think for some reason, we call the Bigfoot the Chai-Tanka. And I address the Bigfoot as a Chai-Tanka when I go into the woods. If I'm looking for them, when I did look for them a lot and try to meet different ones, I would always address them when I went into the woods. Hi, I'm here to knock. It's like the word hawk, except it's knock. Nawk. That means friend. That's the Bigfoot's word and the forest people's word that means friend. Knock. And I would always go in and say, I'm here to visit the Chayutaka. Knock. And then I would touch my heart and I would raise my hand. And you always take your shoes off and your socks and you ground yourself in the forest when you go in if you're looking for these creatures because they relate you as grounding yourself with Mother Earth and they pick up on that type of stuff. These creatures are they take great pride in the forest and all the animals that live there, and they demand respect for you to come into their area. You're going into their house. It's not your house; it's their house, and you better respect them. And they don't take disrespect very easily either. So you always Chayutaka means great elder of the forest, and that's what they are. It's their forest, their home, and knock means you're a friend. You just want to be their friend. You're not there to harm them. I tell them that. And when I go into an area, and lots of times it's worked, and other times it hasn't. But normally, if they know you have good intentions, your chances of being harmed are going to be a lot less. So the Dogman, different story. I'm not one that knows everything about Dogman. I've spent the last 7, 8 years real serious about learning more about it and with a good team that knows about it. And I'm learning more all the time. You don't ever stop learning in this subject anyway. And there is no expert. Somebody tells you they're an expert, the best thing for you to do is get away from them because
Run the other way.
there is
Exactly.
no expert out there because there's not a time when I don't go into the woods and I don't learn something new. And just be cautious. Don't do anything that's real, quite frankly, just stupid. Just don't take out walking into the middle of the woods by yourself in the dark. You don't know what's out there. So, I don't know about the dog, man. Both of those could have killed us. Neither one of those killed me. I've heard all of them are vicious. As I mentioned before, Robin Haynes says they're not. I believe Robin. If she told me it was snowing in August, I'd believe her. Same way with Ron Morehead, Martin Groves, BArton Nunnelly. All those people are my closest friends. And Jennifer, there's so many people that know these creatures and they've been around them. And none of those people have had a dogman attack them. Now, I mean, I do think the ones in the LBL, land between the lakes, there are some in there that will kill you and probably other areas. But it's the unknown. That's the best way to put it.
Yes.
You just don't know the intention. It's like I said before, there's good and bad in everything. There's humans that are bad. There's the humans that are good. You don't know which ones you're going to encounter out there, and don't ever go alone.
And that's a good place to end it because it's the unknown is exactly right. And just like you said, anyone who acts like they're an expert in any of these fields, you need to run the other way because these are things that we are trying to figure out, talk through, and uncover as we go. And I have to say that I do appreciate the straight shooter approach and the unbiased responses that you give, and then the what resonates to me is a feeling of you're telling it as you saw it, and that is all appreciated because I think it's very important, especially if there's these threats out there that we should all be made aware of, and that even goes across to ETs as well. So I gotta say that I definitely appreciate this conversation, and obviously there's gonna be extreme skeptics out there who, when they hear the word Dogman or they hear the word Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they immediately go to, oh, that's crazy, that's ridiculous, and they don't even leave their mind open to even process some of the information. I think if they listen to how you presented this tonight, that they potentially would hopefully at least have it open in their mind like, hey, we can't explain a lot of this other stuff. So it's definitely plausible and very possible that everything is true and that this stuff is all interconnected. So
Oh, no doubt about that.
definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. I really do, Rob.
Yeah, Darrell, we're gonna do this again for sure. We'll have to do it, and I would love if you could let everybody know where they can find you.
Sure. I'm on my group is called Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures, and I always promote Ron Morehead. He has a new book out. Try to purchase it. Martin Groves' second book was in the second chapter. The whole second is our Dogman creature I just mentioned. We've seen the LBL. He has his third book coming out next month. BArton Nunnelly's got 4 or 5 fantastic books out, and you might check those out too. Carter Bishart's got a fantastic new book out of him and a Bigfoot that when he was growing up. Very, very good book. Very honest, fast, good approach. I would suggest those. And if you're not a member of my group, I certainly appreciate you joining us. And we have a good chat in there. And don't worry about people who don't believe you. I gave up a long time ago with trying to convince people. I really don't care what they believe. But
exactly.
Thank you very much for having me, Rob.
No problem at all. We should definitely put together a panel on this subject. So anyone that you have that you would recommend to bring on, then we bring you back with them and maybe have a panel and kind of get a discussion going that way as well.
Hey, sure. One more thing. Thanks to all the people in my group that are watching tonight. I appreciate you watching.
Yes. Thank you all. Yeah, for sure, for coming on over and supporting Spaced Out Radio while supporting Darrell at the same time. Darrell, thanks so much for coming. We will talk again soon. You enjoy the rest of your night and have a great week.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you a lot.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys. Yeah. You got Woo tonight. Woo, it's another onion layer being pulled back. I know when I first was made open to the whole Bigfoot situation and looking into that as people maybe are having real experiences there, then someone pulled the onion back on me and gave me Dogman. And sat Dogman on my lap, and that's one of the more recent things that I've been sifting through. And as you know, we talked to Travis Moostus about the little people in the woods, and so he's opened me up to things like that. And man, all we know is that we know we don't know what we think we know. If you got that, we don't know what we think we know. We don't know. I can't say it again, but you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, awesome show today. We're gonna go ahead and take another pause for the cause as we get ready to jump into hour 3 right here on Spaced Out Radio. You guys kick back, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, guys, welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio After Hours. It just flew by. We're already here in hour 3, and I'm your host, Mr. Rob G, and we will be taking it home. We'll be bringing in one of our hour 3 guys as well. Just a moment, but I need to know real quick. I have this message up on the screen. Susan Kano is saying, Van Gogh, shout out for your birthday. Huh, is it your birthday, Van Gogh? Whose birthday is it? Somebody let me know. Is there a birthday in the house tonight? Just trying to find out real quick before we jump in. Oh, Mothman? Okay, it's Mothman's birthday. Let me be clear. Can I confirm, Mothman, is this your birthday? Are we here on Mothman's birthday tonight? Yes. CS says, yes, it is Mothman's birthday. So, go ahead, guys. Cue the music. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Mothman and to Mothman's goatee. Happy birthday to you, sir, and thank you so much for your support of Spaced Out Radio. I hope you had an awesome birthday or continuing to have an awesome birthday. And take one back for me tonight, man. I'll take one after the show to celebrate with you tomorrow, man. Happy birthday, man. Keep them coming. Keep them going. A beautiful thing. Happy birthday to you, sir. And anyone else in the house tonight that may be celebrating a birthday, I want to say happy birthday to you as well. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and keep the show going tonight. We are going to go ahead and jump in with our hour three guy. And I'm going to go ahead and switch this so you know who's coming on in. It's going to be none other than the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. And I think author of a new book, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we'll talk about all that good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring him on in. Travis Musos. Travis, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing just excellent. Thank you for having me again tonight. And
I got a little. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I got a little mixed up with the time with all the hour ahead, spring ahead kind of deal.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It's been kind of messing with me all.
I'll tell you what. If I didn't have, if my phone, if they didn't set themselves, I would be lost right now myself. So believe me, I'm with you. So you sent something out this week that I saw. It looked like a new book. I don't know. Do you have something new that just came out?
Yeah, I just released a brand new book, brand new science fiction called The Mars Bug Wars, and it's like, it's really cool, kind of like a military kind of book that's like taking place on Mars and follows the unit through the war-torn Mars, I guess I should say.
Well, that's awesome. Do you have? I know you sent over. Let me actually see if I can bring it up. If you don't have a copy, I want to show everybody the book cover. So let me bring it up on Facebook.
I'm actually getting a whole bunch of copies this week. I'm getting more of that. I'm getting like a whole bunch of those. And I'm getting more of the Palladian guidance as well. And but yeah, this one's pretty cool. I put it out there for a very reasonable price, and yeah, it's excellent stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking. You're a machine, dude. Big time. Pumping out these books, man, left and right. Let me see. I think I got it right here. Let me bring up the Amazon link and put it in the chat as well. Let's see. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and bring it on in. Maggie M10 dropped the super sticker. Thanks so much, Maggie M10, for your support of Spaced Out Radio. We do appreciate you. And let me see here. Okay. The good old Facebook. Let me see. Is this? No, this is it right here. Okay, here we go. All right. Travis has the new book. Go ahead and tell everybody what's going on here. And let me actually, while you're doing that, let me post the link in the chat. This is where you guys can get this new book right here. And yeah, let us know what's going on, Travis. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so I got some of the soldiers there on Mars, and then there's a giant mech unit in the back there, and those are pretty awesome. And I just got to say, it's a very high action packed book. It's pretty heavy metal all the way through, and yeah, so like I said, it follows a genetically modified reptilian human hybrid trained on Earth to fight the bugs on Mars, and this follows Chief Warty and the Dark Squad through the war-torn bug infested Mars. So it's like I said, it's all in the name. It's there in the book cover that I painted, and all these excellent. Like I said, it's a wonderful, definitely a wonderful story to be enjoyed. So thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah. No, I couldn't wait to do it. I was like, when I checked my message, I was like, oh, Travis, the dude is on fire. The dude is dropping book after book after book. We definitely have to bring this up for the show. So definitely, man. And I'm behind. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get the whole collection, and I will for sure. You can bet that. So I'm a big supporter of creatives, and I'm a creative myself, so I can appreciate the time that it takes to put a project together. It's not easy. You know what I mean? So appreciate you. And we had the guest on, Darrell Denton. We were talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman, and then he had mentioned little people, and that made me think of Travis. I'm like, Travis is the first person I heard that brought up little people. So that's kind of, me opening up to now little people and things like that. He mentioned something, and this is something I had never heard of before. Maybe you can kind of fill in the blanks, but he was talking about how uh, for it appears that there are different types of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, where some of them are the ones he described that are benevolent. They'll you gift them and they kind of interact with you in a friendly nature. But then he stated as well that there were, I forgot the name that he used for the other ones that are really basically evil, and pretty much you don't want to cross these guys. Do you have any more information on those, what those different types are? And then yeah, I guess if you can answer that one first.
Yeah, like I've said, the ages vary between them. Some of them are very ancient, and some of them do have, like I said, they do have these connections through portals to the other realms in our universe. And a lot of times, when you enter into their frequency in that zone, in that in I should say in the forest, and they already know. They know you're out there. They can, they smell you. They, you know what I mean. It's kind of like they're like they have this total like you've entered and there's like alert system going off, and you know what I mean. It's like some of them are very territorial, and I'm pretty sure that's what he means about them being quite mean and aggressive. But like as for like yeah, like so like people have been like chased out of the areas and like told to get out of the areas and things like that, and uh but like most of the times when we've had them you know I should say involved in our ceremonies, most of them were the benevolent kind of like enlightened spiritual beings that they are. And they are very connected to the forest, and like it is very like I said, it is a guardian spirit that does come through, and guardian being that we do consider, like with the high regard. And it depends on what the healing ceremony or the type of thing is going on there, what connection they're making with a certain person or a being, or they're helping bring forward that energy from the earth mother and forward to help heal somebody. It's very different, right? It's very, very interesting. And but yeah, they are all over, and they are like when I say all over, like they are all over in different environments. You will find some like in the total like cold, and their fur does change color, and or you'll find more out in the Arctic, and same thing goes for like a lot of, like you mentioned, Dogman. And there's a funny story that was brought up to me, was how like the Dogman in the ancient times, he would be hunting a lot of the wagon or the trails, and people like not just wagon trails, but I mean like people like just traveling in the trails lines, and like going from camp to camp or tribe to tribes and our hunting ground areas. And it was like becoming a problem, like where people were being like taken or being killed, and they didn't understand what was going on. So a lot of tribes had to like band together and start like kind of like monitoring the areas. And like this took place like this is like just a little bit like in the 1870, like around there. But they're talking about like how, like, because it was relative, like there was wagons and people around, but like this is in Canada where there wasn't a railroad built, or there wasn't kind of like too many settlements like near up in the north up here, right? So what ended up happening was a lot of the tribes had to band together, and they were watching a lot of these like old trails and trading lanes, and what ended up happening was they ended up finding it was a Dogman, and it was they ended up chasing it and hunting it down to like in Alaska, and they ended up killing it in Alaska. And they ended up like, they had to do a big ceremony and stuff, because they found out it was a darker being, and like it came from it was a darker, tied to a darker world, right? So they had to kind of like pray and ask for guidance on that kind of thing, and like they had to do a bunch of things with the skull, and they had to burn the body, and different methods they had to do with cleansing and purifying that being out of this existence. But yeah, whether or not what they did with it after, I'm not sure. But that was told to me from Medicine Man himself. So that's what he said about the Dogman. But it was running around killing a lot of folks.
And you know that story you just told sounds a lot like the Pelicadas, the down in Peru, and the whole situation they were going through protecting the citizens from whatever this thing was. It was something that was out there, and that's almost the same type of story. One thing I wanted to ask Darrell before we got out of here, I didn't. We ran out of time, and maybe I could ask you: have you ever heard of? Because I made a point earlier that from different people that I've talked to, it sounds like that you're usually going to find or come across a Sasquatch or Bigfoot in the woods, never usually in the city. Whereas Dogman, you're going to find in the woods, you're going to find it everywhere in the city. So I would wonder because Dogman obviously would appear to be a predator. I've never heard of a time where someone said one was benevolent. So it would assume it would be a top apex predator. And then you have these aggressive Bigfoot potentially, or ones that are territorial. Have you, in all the stories that have been told, heard of any interactions between the two? Like in the woods, I would assume if you have two alphas out there, that they have to mix it up at some point. Have you heard of anything like that?
There's been other guardian spirits that have taken out other ones and removed them out of the existence, like of our earth plane and our dimension, and they've come through and taken care of them through like lightning and different kind of elemental like beings, and have come through and helped us over time. And like I said, even the Thunderbird has been known to chase a lot of these mystical beings and keeping the balance. And that's why also it's like they're known as guardians. Give me a second here, folks.
Yeah, you're good. Take your time. Heard the kitty in the back dropping background vocals from the kitty cat in the back.
Oh, it's like he knows when I'm streaming and stuff. So he's like, I'm part of this now.
He's like, meow,
He's all,
meow.
yeah. And he's here. Hello, folks. Hello. He's all purring now. He's all happy. But yeah, so it's like, there's been cases where that has happened, and Bigfoot does like when we were out doing there's a whole bunch of us were out doing a vision quest together, and we're all out there in the forest, and we heard all these like it was like the snapping of the trees and stuff just after a little like a sweat lodge ceremony before we went in, and we heard these distinct snapping sounds. It was four loud, just breaking like a whole tree just being broken down and falling, and it was four of them. Like, and there was nobody else out there like power sawing or cutting or anything like that. We're all together, and we're like, oh, okay. And then like I said, the medicine man, my uncle at the time when he was alive, he told us, he's like, yeah, that's the Mr. Napuyo. He's here to watch over you guys and keep you guys safe from anything that may be trying to come and take your souls when you guys are out there. Like in that, so like there's no other like real crazy mystical beings that come like, kill us or fight us or, you know what I mean? Like that. So Bigfoot was there watching over us in that sense and regard. And so they, they do protect, and they do, when it's in the right alignment with this earth and, dimension and connection of that. Right. So they are very, very, very connected in that level. And they do know when people are doing like those kind of things, or they are partaking with that connection of the universe and spirit, because they are very connected to it. And that's like what a lot of people forget too, is like, that's how come they're able to like shut cameras off or mess up videos and different kind of things, or like telepathically talk. Is they're very, very, very much connected, very, very spiritual beings, like very dimensional. And that's like kind of like a big part about it, right? Is like they are very, very, like I should say, advanced for their own kind of beings that they are through their, I should say, their connection to the universe and the earth and everything, right? And you usually find them around streams. You'll find them like in the mountains. You'll find them in like deep forests where nobody would go. And usually you'll get like a brief glimpse of them, and it's just usually to let you know that like, hey, we're here. Keep coming any further. It might not get good, or you know what I mean? Like, or they're like, hey, you're in our area, get out of here, kind of deal, right? Like, and that's usually the reason why people will see them, or if they're getting like a kind of like visited to the camps and stuff like that, or their houses or things like that. It's because those are young Bigfoots, like baby, like adolescent, like very, very, very young ones. And that's why you'll find like where you'll find like the footprints and stuff like that is because those ones are, and they'll allow them, like, they're more curious and, not very, I should say, like, they're just kind of like, they don't really care.
Yeah.
Like they'll let their foot tracks be seen and things are themselves. And they are very curious though, and wondering what people are doing out there or what, like if they're not, like out there, like, like, like for ceremonial purposes, or if they're not out there for, if they're out there for them, then they're like, hey, what are you doing? You're kind of deal. Of course, you're going to be curious. Right. But, yeah. So is there anything else that you want me to bring up on the Bigfoot or anything?
Well, I mean, it's just, because like I was saying earlier to Darrell, I came into the field, UFOs brought me in, just the fact that they're here. And then along the way, just sitting and thinking about the universe and just what we think is reality, and knowing that what we think is reality really isn't reality, and that we totally don't have all the answers. So that means everything is on the table and everything is open. So that then took me into Bigfoot and looking at that as something, wow, okay, maybe this is a real thing. And then going down that rabbit hole and then being introduced into Dogman. And it's just, I think for when you have skeptics out there, right, especially these extreme skeptics who might just tune in right now and they say, oh, you're talking about Bigfoot or Dogman. They haven't even been introduced to the beginning of it yet. So they're kind of jumping in too far into the story, I think. And I think the conversation that we had and the way that Darrell presented it was in a conversational way, that can kind of get us closer to just talking about, these cryptids and Bigfoots and just telling stories about them, but trying to figure out, where the end game is for this. Like, is there a point where, and I asked them, is there a point where we interface or interact? Like, what's the goal for them long term? And, how things like, how can we make the public more aware that it potentially isn't really, say, outside of bears and things that we know of. But when you're talking about these evil Sasquatch that are out there that would harm humans, and then dogmen that are out there as well, it should be something laid out there for people to just really understand that there is this other thing going on out there. And hey, you may not be as safe as you think you are when you go camping. When you make a decision to go camping, you say, hey, I know there's bears out there. I know there's mountain lions. Maybe I need to take this to protect myself, and then I'll make the decision to go. Or you're like, I don't want to deal with bears or mountain lions. I'm not going. So if you have these other things on the table that are potentially even higher on the food chart than these other predators, then I think it's something that should be widely known to the people out there. Same way as the ETs and their ability to abduct us or take us at will whenever they want. That should also be something on the table that people should know widely. So I just thought, the way that Darrell was able to present that information tonight kind of, I think, furthered the Bigfoot Sasquatch conversation. I mean, I really feel like it did. So Deb from Sac says, if I see a cryptid, I'm going to run like hell, Rob G. Deb from Sac, you're going to be running like hell behind me because I'm going to be first out of there, because maybe I wouldn't even been there to begin with. Let's start there. But yeah, I totally appreciate your comment. Dino Bravo fan says, does Dogman and Big Feet have any other means of conveyance other than walking? Great question for you, Travis.
Yeah. Like as for like Dogman switching in between forms, they could take like half man, or they could walk in between like being just straight up like a full back to being a beast. Same thing with the Bigfoot. They can have the ability to transform back into energy and just switch into that frequency. And actually when the moon and there's like times of the year when the sun's like high activity, they're able to actually just become energy forms of and orbs of light and just like fly around and and yeah, it's like, so like they're able to connect with the moon and stuff again, and the rocks and different kind of like elements of the earth, and travel these different dimensions and enter these different portals, and yeah, so like there's a lot of that going on with the with the Bigfoot, and like I said, Dogman and other wolf and coyote hybrid people and different things like that. I've been known they've been like, they'll take a male or a human or a female form, and you know, some of them will be half man, half beast, and it'll look really jarring because like they'll have like a dog body, but then like the head where it comes up will be like a human, like the upper torso of a human with hands and arms talking. Like it's very, very odd, very like, you know, very very different looking kind of people, and eyes and tongues and yeah, teeth, and yeah, so it's very like, they almost like scare, they could freak somebody out pretty. So I could see when Dev said she's running, she'd freak out. I could see that being the case. But like I said, in between Dogman, like I said, Dogman usually has like a humanoid form already. He's already like a transformed wild man kind of deal, and that was an old legend about that. Like when somebody would just go back and become part of that and allow that that dimension transform themselves back into that wildness again. So it's there's that as well too.
Yeah, and just looking at this, I mean, yeah, it's a thing. Let me see real quick. Little Cat 51 just wanted to know, as a native, do you roll your own cigarettes if you smoke?
We grow our own tobacco, evidently. So there you go. There you have it. My cousin actually grows a whole bunch, and yeah, natural products go into it, and then there's actually, yeah, like I said, we have our own tobacco and different kind of herbs we put in there and different things. So
okay, and Brandon Coast wants to know, what about dog women? What are they called if that's a thing?
the Atmos. Sorry, it would be I don't know why the words, but Atomos is Atomos Samana is what they are known as, the Atomosa. So yeah, it would be Esquio Atomosi Samin Asamia. So dog women people. Yeah.
Ah, okay, hitting us with some of the lingo over there, man. I see you, Travis. Nice. Appreciate you, man. Let's see. Yeah, so because I'm just looking at it, like I said, you know, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk, you know, when it comes to the crypto space, because it's an onion, right? And it's another layer, every time you find out one thing and you're looking into that, and another layer, peeling another layer back, and now we're talking about these other things here, right? And I think we've said this before, we'll find out at the end of the day that likely all of these things are connected in some sort of way. And, you know, asking questions like, what is the purpose of what they're doing, and like, how can we, you know, push that narrative forward? Because I would love to see, I know that the Bigfoot conversation and Dogman conversation is had in a small corner of the overall conversation, and not because it's not valid, it's just because the woo side of it makes it a conversation that you wouldn't present up front. It'd be one you have down the line. So just kind of bringing those things to light and kind of, you know, moving, it's just something to move the needle on that, because I don't, you know, when I look around, I see a lot of conversations just about, hey, these things are out there, this is what they do, but it's really, the questions are like, what's the future for that? Like, where do we go? Like, is there a point that we integrate with them? Are they trying to give us a message, you know what I mean? Or is there a point that we end up helping them on their evolution, like, you know, and kind of like what the next steps are? So I had fun talking about it tonight, and I knew potentially you were going to come on. So when he said little people, I was like, dude, Travis will be here in a minute. We can ask Travis about all of that. So besides that, and I'm going on my rant, I wanted you to know that we're going to be pulling out the trivia sticks out here in about 5 to 10 minutes. So you're welcome to stay for that if you want. And we kind of just read off the questions for the audience. They use their fingers to answer the questions, and we'll kind of end the night off like that. How do you feel about that, Travis?
You know what? I was actually, I didn't plan to stick around, to be honest, but yeah, we'll check it out. We'll check out what your questions are. We'll see how they roll out. I'll hang around.
Okay.
I'll hang around.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll be right back.
Yeah. You go ahead and do that. I'll get this thing started. Travis Moostos is going to hang out with us for trivia tonight, guys. Thought that's how we end the night. I had a super long list of questions that I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys. So let's do what we do and go ahead and get into trivia for the last 20 minutes of the show, because I want to crown a new winner tonight. Lex Diaz took home the crown last time we did this. And, you know, Tomatman's always ready to take it back. It's his birthday, too, and maybe he might just do that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let me go ahead and bring up the stuff that we need for this. And let's do this. Okay. All right, so I want to go ahead and do that. How about what do you guys say? 20 minutes. You get to the end of the weekend. You're getting ready to go back to work. Why not have a little bit of fun before you do it? So you could have bragging rights for the week until we get back here next week on After Hours. Let me bring up the YouTube chat, because I got to keep it official and I got to keep it real. Everybody, we all know, I think, at this point that the YouTube chat varies. Everybody. Okay, turn that down. Cancel that. Okay, let me set this up. So, I have way too many questions. I have like too many. We won't get to them all tonight. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing started. Who's gonna deny to Mothman a victory tonight? Or are we just gonna give it to him because it's his birthday? Huh? What are we gonna do, guys? Okay. Oh, Lex Diaz is here to defend the crown. Got it. Okay, here we go. All right. So we're gonna run down the list, see as many as we can get here. Don't forget to switch to live chat instead of top. Yep. Got you, Paramarv. We are ready to go. Here we go. First question. In 1947, what location became famous for the supposed crash of a UFO? In 1947, what location became famous for the supposed crash of a UFO? Oh, let me see. Looks like we got Paramarv in there for Roswell, which is the correct answer. Roswell is Roswelly. So go ahead, Paramarv. Good job. Let's go ahead and get to the next one here. This is a cryptid question. What legendary sea monster is said to inhabit the waters of Scotland's Loch Ness? Which legendary sea monster is said to inhabit the waters of Scotland's Loch Ness? Lex Diaz. Lex Diaz hit it. It's going to be Nessie. Lex Diaz came through. Good job, Lex Diaz. Go ahead and bring that out here. Travis, the audience is brilliant. I'm telling you, dude. Watch, they crush these. Some that you wouldn't even think they get, they crush. Let's see. This is a question in space. Okay, space in general. What is the largest planet in our solar system? Who's going to get it? The largest planet in our solar system is... There we go. Paramarv got it. It is Jupiter. I think Paramarv is going for the smash tonight, Travis.
Yeah, That's lovely. Yes, and it has 96 moons or 98, something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, awesome,
Yeah.
man. Awesome. Okay. All right. Next question is a paranormal question. This is paranormal. In paranormal investigations, what device is often used to communicate with spirits by detecting changes in electromagnetic fields? In paranormal investigations, what device is often used to communicate with spirits by detecting changes in electromagnetic fields? Okay, Paramar, what's the D for, though? Paramar said EMF. Okay, yeah, so he corrected himself. So we'll have to give that one to Christine. Christine. That is an EMF, or electromagnetic field meter. Okay. Yeah, you got something there, Travis?
Oh, I was just gonna say, those are super fun. I love using them. Those are great. Good
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let me see. Well, Christine nabbed that one. All right, next question. This one is on UFOs, and this is very easy. Very, very easy. The question is, what does UFO stand for? Right? What does UFO stand for, guys? Elementary, my dear. Elementary. What does you... Okay. We do have a correct answer. And it looks like that's going to... From the land down under... Maggie M10. Maggie M10. Per the YouTube chat, Maggie M10 got that first. Okay, awesome stuff. All right, next question is going to be a cryptid question. All right, this one is, in Australian folklore, what large ape-like creature is said to inhabit the remote forest? In Australian folklore, what large ape-like creature is said to inhabit the remote forest? All right, Paramar. It is a yowie. Yowie. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Oh, what do we owe the honor? Hold on, let me get the three amigos, los tres amigos. Welcome, Phil. Thank you for joining us for the last 20 minutes. Awesome stuff. Phil showed up. We love it. Thank you, Phil. All right. Next question is going to be a space question. That question is, what is the name of the closest galaxy to the Milky Way? What is the name of the closest galaxy to the Milky Way? Okay. Let's see. That's Lex Diaz. Lex Diaz is not playing tonight. Lex Diaz says Andromeda. Lex Diaz trying to defend the crown tonight. Awesome stuff, Lex. All right. Next question is a paranormal question. Actually, no, we're going to UFO question next. Which incident involving multiple claimed UFO sightings and encounters occurred in the U.S. state of Arizona in 1997? What was the name of the incident? Arizona, 1997.
Phoenix Lights. Dirty Phil's jumping in there to ruin everyone's night. I apologize.
Oh,
Phoenix.
excellent.
Dirty Filth for the win. It is Phoenix Lights. And the first person right after that was Maggie M10. Fantastic. Fantastico. All right.
Sorry, Dave. Send me a fax tomorrow.
We love it. We love it. Let's see. Okay, cryptid question. Get ready. What mythical creature, often depicted as a horse with a single horn on its forehead, is known for its healing powers? What mythical creature, often depicted as a horse with a single horn on its forehead, is known for its healing powers? That is correct, Paramar. Paramar says unicorn, and that's what it is. The answer is unicorn. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. So Van Gogh, if you're saying Phoenix Lights, you might want to check your feed. I think you might be behind a little bit. Let's see. Next question is, let's see. Let's jump to this one here. Okay. UFO question. Which government department in the United States conducted investigations into UFO sightings from 1952 to 1969? Which government department in the United States and what was the name of it? Let's just say that. 1952 to 1969. Okay, I'll give it to you, Lex Diaz. It is Blue Book. It's actually Project Blue Book, but I'll go ahead and get that to you. Oh, is this a happy birthday to Mothman? Now, I didn't put that in there. So, if that Dave Scott, potentially Dave Scott did that. So, happy birthday to you to Mothman, potentially from Dave Scott. All right, and let's see. So who got it? Yeah, okay, we got, let me go back. Blue Book. Yeah, so we got Lex Diaz. So yeah, Lex Diaz, Project Blue Book, but we'll give you Blue Book. That works. That works. Dave said might be. Yeah, Dave, you're more than welcome to come and sing in your baritone, your lovely baritone to Mothman at any time. We'll be wrapping this up in just a moment here. All right, let's see. Look, Mothman already waiting for that question. He answered Mothman. That's funny, Mothman. Okay, so next one. What humanoid creature, this is a cryptid question. What humanoid creature with the ability to shapeshift is a prominent figure in Native American folklore? What humanoid creature with the ability to shapeshift is a prominent figure in Native American folklore? Lex Diaz with the Skinwalker. Love it, love it, love it. Lex Diaz is not playing tonight. Come on, man, it's your birthday. Show up, buddy, show up. Let's see. Okay. Okay. This is a space question. What is the name of the phenomenon where a massive star collapses under its own gravity, resulting in a powerful explosion? What is the name of the phenomenon where a massive star collapses under its own gravity, resulting in a powerful explosion? Oh, I see where this is going, Lex Diaz. Once again, it is a supernova. It is a supernova. I heard you don't want to get caught up in one of those. It's going to be a bad day if that happens. All right. Lex Diaz putting in work. Love it. Okay, this is a paranormal question. What term is commonly used to describe the alleged ability to perceive events or information without using the known human senses? What term is commonly used to describe the alleged ability to perceive events or information without using known human senses? Ha ha ha. Thought that was going to be a tough one, but Paramar just snatched that up. That is going to be ESP. ESP is the correct answer. Thank you, Paramore. Like I said, if you don't win, you win with knowledge at the end of the day. So you're going to take home knowledge, and that is worth more than anything that you could think of. So everyone's a winner. That's right, Travis.
Beautiful.
That's right. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? So next question is UFO question. Which U.S. military facility is often associated with conspiracy theories involving extraterrestrial technology and UFO research? Which U.S. military facility is often associated with conspiracy theories involving... Okay, I already see the right answer there. Paramore. Awesome. So let's see. It's 52 after. So we will end this at about 55 after so we can tally. Paramore, Area 51 is the correct answer. And let's see. All right.
How come S4 isn't a correct answer?
S4, I think, would be a correct answer, technically, potentially. Just like, what was it, Wright-Patterson as well? All those could be, but trivia says Area 51. This one should go well. I'm not going to give it away. It's a cryptid question. What elusive North American cryptid is often described as an ape-like creature covered in dark fur? Maybe we talked about it tonight, possibly, with our guest Darrell Denton. Okay, that's right, Paramore. It is the big guy. Sassy Sasquatch himself, Mr. Bigfoot. That is the correct answer. So correctamundo. I would have took Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Either one would have worked. Okay. This one is, let's see, this one might take a little time. And this is probably the last question. We'll do two more. What is the name of the theory proposing that our universe is just one of many universes, each with its own set of physical laws? What is the name of the theory proposing that our universe is just one of many universes, each with its own set of physical laws? Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, because look, okay. All right, we'll take it, Lex Diaz. You didn't put an E, but that's all good. It's a multiverse. It's all about learning at the end of the day. All right, last question. This is it. For all the bananas. Oh, Travis, this is... Okay, Travis may have mentioned this at some point, so this is going to be great. Cryptid question. According to Native American mythology, what creature possesses the ability to create thunder with its wings and is often associated with storms? According to Native American mythology, what creature possesses the ability to create thunder with its wings and is often associated with storms? Maggie M10 with the... Okay. Thank you, Maggie M10. It is Thunderbird. Just talked about that. Literally. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for the trivia. Let's go ahead and tally up those votes. Maggie M10. Awesome. Appreciate you. So going back, looking at our correct answers, we have Paramore with 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Whoa. 5, 6, 7. 7 for Paramore. 1 for Lex Diaz. 2 for Lex Diaz. 3 for Lex Diaz. 4 for Lex Diaz. 5 for Lex Diaz. 6 for Lex Diaz. All right. We got Christine with 1. We have Maggie M10 with 1, 2, 3. So our winner for tonight is the one and only Paramarv. Paramarv, let's give it up for Paramarv. Awesome work, awesome work. And everybody else, you guys want to, because you walked away with knowledge. Knowledge is key. As long as you absorb this is our subject. This is what we talk about. So we should know these answers. Hopefully this went a step forward to getting you there. So with that being said, we're at the end of the show. Once again, let me go ahead and fade this music out a little bit so we can say happy birthday to the Mothman. It is your very special day. And I really hope you really have a great one to Mothman. I hope you had fun with us here tonight. I know everybody appreciates, the love that we share here at Spaced Out Radio. So it's a great thing. Phil stopping by is an awesome thing as well. Travis, come on, man. It's a dream team, guys. So what I want to do is go ahead and thank our super chatters for the night. We had Maggie M10. Thank you for your support, Spaced Out Radio. Deb from Sacramento. Thank you so much for your love and support. We had CS dropping through as well with the super sticker. Thank you so much for your support. To all the space travelers out there, you're already a space traveler. Why not take that extra step and join the club? That's right, you can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. So consider taking that step. We appreciate your support, guys. To all the viewers and listeners across the globe, thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what is that, you ask? We own the night. You guys have a great rest of your night. Be here for Dave Scott tomorrow, Monday through Friday, and we'll see you right back here at the After Hours on Saturday. Till then, you guys take care. One love from Mr. Rob G, Dirty Filth right over there, and Mr. Travis Moose Deuce. You guys all take care.